Hello, everybody. Welcome to the home of Adventures in Alberon. Although we are not doing a normal Alberon episode today, we are doing a special one-shot called Kobold Quest. There is a cat present, which
Meow.
you may or may not see from time to time.
Her name's Neffy and she's awesome.
Yeah, so we don't have Miles and Allie. They have disappeared off the face of the earth. And so we are running this one-shot as we generally do when we don't run a normal session of D&D. I'll bring this out to all of us. We have Michael joining us tonight.
Hello.
You guys may remember him from last week where we did Many Minds.
I didn't die that time.
He didn't die this time, which is fantastic. You did get abandoned in a strange place.
I'm also lonely.
But, and Allie and Miles has not disappeared. They're on vacation. But we are doing a Kobold-themed one-shot tonight entitled Kobold Quest. And it requires a little bit of background, but I'll get into that in a second. I'm also going to have you guys go around and introduce yourselves in a moment, but first we have a couple of announcements to go through. The very first thing, so we have something for Matt and Tina. As part of our 100 follower thing, we had dice made custom for our characters. Somebody out there also is getting them. The pictures for the giveaway ones are on Instagram. Super cool. Those are going to behind the DM screen. Those are actually coming to you sometime next week, so they're right there. I don't know where you want to hold them up in front of a camera, but those are those dice. And for each character, you guys were given dice by Dicey_encounters on Instagram. Drew did a phenomenal job. First, Gunter, for you, a set of custom-made Gunter dice.
Thank you.
And so these were actually, he did, Drew's an amazing person. He did a fantastic job.
These are awesome.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job creating these dice specifically to represent each character. So for Gunter,
You've got a good hand here.
kind of rusty iron, but then with it this kind of crackling
Hold
blue
these
energy,
bad boys up.
especially
Boom.
now that you've
They're so sparkly, but also like.
but also
old.
super.
Right, but old.
Well, no, we tried to really capture the Gunter oldness.
Look at.
And there'll be pictures of these on Instagram later. Actually, I'll post
These
them
are
on the break.
awesome.
I took them
Thank
already.
you.
And then Tina, and there's actually a message, I believe, for Gunter in there.
Ha!
And
It will.
we also have for Tina a set of dice to represent Shay. Very unique. Super, super cool. Definitely took a little bit of finagling.
Oh, I feel like I'm gonna use them tonight.
You can if you want. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah, well, Gunter's a little bit of a kobold anyway.
Sure. So we have those dice. Those go to you, Tina. They actually have feathers, which to Shay have a very significant
Oh,
meaning.
that's awesome.
They're actually, we tried to get them as close to sort of like a red-tailed sort of.
That's
you know. So actual feathers, little feathers in each one of the dice. Super cool. But pictures of these are all going to be going up on Instagram. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Drew,
man,
for doing
these are
that.
awesome.
Really appreciate it.
These are like the coolest dice.
When we get to 200 followers, if you are following us on Twitch, then you are already entered to win. But we have something else that's coming to our players. We'll announce that when we get a little bit closer. Next week, we are back to Adventures in Alberon, episode 12, which is going to be titled Storm and Shores.
We're gonna be rolling pretty tonight.
The Fever Gang is making their way to Farshore at long last and trying to outrun Hypsidium's haste. We'll see how that goes. But that is next week, normal time, normal place. We're going to have all of our players back. It's going to be lovely. October 25th is the next time that we will not actually be having, I believe, our regular scheduled show because we are having a one-shot run by Tina. Tina's going to run a Halloween-themed one-shot
Joe
where
finally
we'll be
gets
very
to
spooky.
play.
I'm going to get to play my first ever non-work related game of D&D since D&D Next came out. So that's like super exciting for me. You guys are going to see a really creepy wizard.
Spooky.
It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. As always, this evening we are using Sirenscape. However, my sounds keep starting and stopping, and I'm not sure why. I'm wondering if maybe it's an internet connectivity thing. We'll figure it out. Although, actually, to be fair, I've never used this particular soundboard. So let me go ahead and throw something that I'm more familiar with on. We'll see how it works. A little jaunty tavern music. We use Sirenscape every week, so that's where the jaunty tavern music is coming from for all of our sound effects and our music. So if you hear things, that's where it's coming from. Awesome set of digital tools for DMs, for players. Check them out. Also, I wanted to wish a happy birthday to Talon, who last week let us know he is having his birthday. I believe it already happened. But happy birthday. Super happy for you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, super happy. Talon has been with us since the very beginning on the stream. So thank you very much. Finally, I wanted to send a shout out to @DysonHammer on Instagram. Had a great conversation with them. One of the coolest things about doing the show is getting to meet people and talk to people. So definitely, really hope you get to play Grim, your Kobold Artificer soon. Finally, if you have any questions for our cast, any of these people, any of the people who normally play Adventures in Alberon, you can send those questions to cast@alberonrpg.com. And Talon, if you check your email, I actually responded. It took me 2 weeks, but that's okay.
Response time.
You got there.
Well,
Does not respond immediately.
A little
on
bit
Facebook.
lost the login information.
Sorry, on Twitch.
So, with the announcements out of the way, little backstory, because this does require a little bit of backstory. And I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves when we get to your character. So, long ago, well, not so long ago, there was a fierce kobold named Krajik. Krajik's people had been subjugated by the hill giant brothers Bakul and Hun several years before Krajik was born. When he came into being, his fierce demeanor and bravery set him above others, and he joined a group of kobolds tasked with missions that required more finesse than the hill giants could typically manage. Nothing terribly difficult, reconnaissance mostly, but nonetheless, the Blacktooths were more capable than any others amongst their forces. While scouting out farming settlements around Port Quinn and arriving in a cemetery at dusk, Krajik was trapped by mysterious figures and brought back to their lair to use them for parts. Luck was on Krajik's side, however. A group of heroes combined their might and stormed the twisted hideout of the mad Dr. Twee Lightfoot, a rambunctious and loud dwarf that threw radiant bolts, shattering the assembled souls, skeletons born of necromancy, gears, and cogs. Heinrich, a son of Port Quinn itself, ever a guiding hand, pulling each of the heroes in turn to the task while deftly disguising his own abilities. The wild and rakish Morwen, nearly invisible in the darkened tunnels, yet her blades, pus and butts, were felt by many. And Shay, the fearless monk, lighter than a feather, who nearly met her end before being rescued and, in turn, saving Gunter's life for the first of many times. Before they came to be called the Finger Gang, these heroes intervened individually. Though Morwen alone wished to try and elevate Krajik to something more, she carried him, half against his will, out of the sewer runoff, by the wooded beaches to the south of Port Quinn, where she let him go. She fed him, wished him well, and he disappeared into the forest. A distance away, another group of kobolds creeps through the woods. As they pick their way through the brush, keeping the road about 100 feet to their right, nearly out of sight through the woods. Starting with you, Matt, could you please describe yourselves?
So I am a fairly small, robed kobold, really ugly, bluish, kind of like gross looking skin, scales,
Yeah, scales.
leathery scales, and got some like fungus growing all over him. He's got like little, it doesn't look like, it's like mold more, you know. He just looks like kind of moldy.
Kind of crusty.
Old and
Not
very
And so,
old.
He's
as
like-
you
There's a
picture-
lot of moisture, but
Very
it's
moist kobold.
mildewy.
So
you
looking
know?
at your friend, and you guys have all known each other since you've hatched. His scales very kind of like putrid, and like they have the wrong texture, and there are like these elements that hang off, kind of
Some,
bits
like,
of mold
fuzz.
and strange
Like,
things.
he
There are
likes it.
constantly little toadstools and things sprouting from him.
And,
But you watch as he deftly picks his way through the forest. Can you roll a stealth check, please?
Okay. Ooh, first roll. That's a 6.
6, okay? Do
Oh,
you
wait.
have anything with your...
Yes, I do. Let me just double check.
Alright, take a check on that. While you're thinking about
For
that,
stealth, that is a +4.
+4,
So 10.
okay.
We got
So
a 10.
as this creature kind of breaks through the brush and kind of every now and then you'll see he turns and pulls up branches and is looking around the base of trees, making a little bit of noise. You, a little bit further ahead, could you please describe yourself?
I am a little bit tall for a kobold, about 2'5", roughly. Not terribly heavy set, but a large-ish kobold. Beefy.
Yeah.
Kind of a darkish blue scale color. Garbed in what could be considered like a studded leather armor, but it's clearly seen some wear, and it's clearly been stolen and adjusted to fit.
It's like different colors,
Yeah.
and like there's some vines wrapping or things together.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Very heavily armored. There's swords, daggers, a short bow.
Could you please roll a stealth check?
Absolutely. I can find my dice.
You just got a whole new set.
I did.
I'm
But
like
they're not.
holding on.
Yeah,
Those
they're
are
cool.
those are Shay's dice. These are not.
That's true. That's fair.
Richard's dice. It's a different thing.
What do you got?
That's a 19,
19.
plus 8.
Yeah.
No, 8. Yes.
27. So, this person making all of this noise behind you is incredibly irritating because you just deftly, having traveled this kind of terrain before, this wooded environment, very easily you kind of slightly step before you place your full weight down, making sure nothing will break or be displaced. You move with great care, and then behind you, a little irritating. A little bit behind both of you, there is one more kobold. Could you please describe yourself?
I am also a tint of blue, but very pale in comparison. I am garbed in a very patchworked leather armor. You can tell that parts of it look different from each other, and my nose is kind of looks like it's a little bit bent, in kind of a permanent little sneer, kind of a toothy grin.
Sure.
And I have a lot of shiny bits on me, random broken crystals, jewels,
Shiny
and a snow globe, depicting a prince or noble of some kind, completely in the nude, surrounded by many different subjects pointing and laughing at him.
Yeah, so
Tasteful.
you can see in the snow globe there is this sort of sandy-haired man, short hair, kind of coiffed. There is common. Do you speak common?
I do.
So this is Prince Dolaron II, who would have existed sometime in the early First Age, really predating Sarentil itself, the kingdom that you guys are kind of wandering through. But actually kind of an artifact in its own way. So the three of you begin to kind of walk through this forest. You've been walking for close to 3 hours, and you've been given this direction to find your clutchmate, your teammate, Krajik, who has been abducted. Let me get some more appropriate music for you guys up here. So, as you walk, what is your marching order? What order are you guys kind of picking through the woods? Currently, you are in fairly thick wood. There is a path that you guys have been keeping in sight about 100 feet into the tree line, and you've been navigating by that to get in the direction you're trying to go. You guys are passing in the direction of Port Quinn, a very major human settlement. Maybe best to stick away from it, but your quarry is in that direction, and then you turn west to get to where you're trying to get to.
I feel like I'm probably in the front.
Okay.
I'm almost certainly in the back.
And I'm probably taken right in the middle.
Okay, there you go. How far ahead of everybody are you? Because you are significantly faster through the forest.
I believe my bonuses apply to them as well, actually.
Ooh, I
Look at
like that.
I think actually you're right.
I
I
like
do think
that.
it is.
We haven't had a ranger in our game for a little while. Our last ranger broke all of his legs
Well, all of his
and
legs.
then died.
Hold on.
He decided to leap into a canyon. It didn't go great. There may or may not have been drinking involved. It's kind of unclear.
I'm pretty sure there was.
Yeah.
Now this is the favorite terrain feat.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that does actually give.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure it
Very
gives
nice.
the whole party.
So you guys can stay together pretty cohesively. I would say then, given Tina, make a perception check as you lead this party.
I can do that. 18.
18. So you guys have been traveling for about 3 hours. And as you progress and you come to sort of a turn in this road that leads over to a bridge that seems to go over maybe like a sewage runoff, you can see it gets marshy to your left. You become aware of this sort of difference in the architecture and the landscape, and you see that beneath this bridge there's been mud just kind of slowly put up and create sort of a wall, and you can actually see what looks like sort of these rough-hewn windows about the size of a kobold. But as you kind of, are you going to do anything else with that information, or?
I mean, relay it, but no.
Okay. Continue to walk. You guys, you're heading kind of right by it.
I would like to kind of cook my head in curiosity and maybe sneak up and do a little poke to see if I can see anything within it.
Are you looking for anything in particular?
Always something shiny,
Okay.
but specifically people or enemies.
Make a perception check.
Shiny people in particular.
Shiny people
Shiny
in
people,
particular.
that's good.
So that is going to be a 19 for perception.
A 19. Okay. With a 19, you creep up, and with your sort of slightly pale skin, you pull elements of the leather armor over you to really protect yourself and keep yourself hidden. And you creep up and kind of lift up a branch and sneak underneath, and you can see a little bit over a crest. There is this sort of like mud kind of wall that's been erected around a sewage runoff, and there's been nets that have been strung up over the runoff, and you can see there are little bits and bobs, and you would probably see mostly garbage. At this distance, kind of hard to tell.
Okay.
But there is this sort of makeshift well that's been erected outside of it where the stuff runs off and then down.
Okay.
You also notice that there are these creatures walking around, frog-like. You've probably run into them before. They're grung.
Okay.
These little frog-like creatures, you see two of them, a little bit larger, green, and then there's 5 or 6 others that are sort of milling around. They seem to be maybe communicating. You do hear frog-like noises emanating from that area. Every now and then, a little bit louder, a little bit quieter, but they seem to be kind of collecting things out of this runoff.
Okay.
Not necessarily a community, more like almost like a small family.
Okay.
They do not seem to have noticed you.
Okay. I'm going to lightly sneak back to my comrades and tell them what I've seen.
Okay.
Tiny toad people. They're grabbing something from their nets.
Toad people.
Toad people. Tiny toad people.
Not to be bothered.
These guys right here.
Oh.
Yeah, they're little tiny toad people. You're seeing people, they vary from about 3 feet tall, the larger ones, to these sort of small, diminutive ones, but they are mostly green. There's one that is a little bit more like a toasty orange and one that's blue, but for the most part they're green. And as you sit and watch for a little bit, you saw there was probably maybe 7 or 8 of them.
About that many.
These sharp little claws come up, and it looks like there's maybe about 6.
Too many.
Sneak around. Be silent though.
So how far around do you want to divert from this little grung community?
Get around them back to the path that we are going through.
Like a nice safe kind of arc?
Yeah.
Okay. It will, Tina, you are leading, so if you could please roll a survival check.
I'm good at that.
Yeah, you're on favorite terrain, too.
So it's advantage, right?
Yep.
That's a natural 20.
Natural 20.
Nice.
You guys follow your ally, who, as you guys have kind of progressed and learned your trade and been this elite squad of kobolds, naturally there has been sort of a leader that has emerged, and this Gloomstalker, who in your guys' terrain that your rough sort of warband has claimed as their territory, is primarily wood and swamp, with a little bit of prairie and hills. And so in most of the places that you guys patrol, incredibly helpful. You guys sort of follow this progress, and Tina, you pull brush aside and you find this very, very nice sort of like root system that you can walk along almost silently to get yourselves away. And you find a little bit of a gully that river runoff has created. And though it is a little bit wet, you trudge through and manage to get around out of sight of this entire community. You hear as you walk every now and then these kind of this frog people sort of communicating. But without too much of an issue, you do pass. There is a point where you do come through and you get a better view of what's happening there. I would say whoever wants to can roll a perception check if they would like.
I'm not gonna take a look.
Sure.
Dirty,
Okay.
Oh, that will take
30 what?
yours.
dirty 20.
Dirty 20.
Not
okay.
30 20. No,
I was like
dirty.
33?
No,
Jesus.
dirty
We'll
20.
take that.
Okay. Dana, anything good?
You see better than
I-
I do.
27.
With my
27.
special eyes.
All right. You, as you walk, you come up to this kind of dead log with a couple bits of mushrooms and things growing off, and you start to look, and then immediately your eyes cast down at these little toadstools, and you kind of start whispering a little bit at them. The two of you looking out between this, over this little dead log, and there are kind of bits of evergreen that kind of hang
Not as
over,
bad.
so it's very, very, very thin. You guys peer through. Tina, you see a lot. You see that there are
What do you
about 6 of the grung that are out right now, and they're trudging through these nets that have been strung across the runoff and through the pipe up a little bit. You can kind of see into the dark a little bit. There are several nets. Some of them bigger, some of them smaller. And the bigger ones, you can see there's actually like barrels and pieces of wood that have been caught. And in the smaller ones, you can see like little bits of can and maybe clothes and bits of rubble. One of them, who is a little bit smaller and this gold cast, these black spots that kind of go across them, is festooned with various items. You can see there's like a small pouch hanging off this kind of, actually, let me pull up the description here real quick. There is one that is wearing, you can see he's actually wearing these very, very fine, although very muddy and dirty, black trousers. And hanging off the sort of belt loop of one of those, there's a small pouch. You can see there are arrows on his back. There is like a sort of like a big drinking horn that's almost the size of his femur, that is lugged across his back as you might carry like a broadsword. Little bits of broken glass that are inside the mouth of what looks like a cured fish. But a whole bunch of little objects on him, some of them shiny. You guys still progressing on?
What other items do I see on this rung? Or was that it?
You would also notice probably on all the grung you can see some of them have spears. There are a couple short bows. Many of them carry arrows that are a little different in design than some of the ones you're familiar with. You can see one of them is wearing a pair of very fine silk gloves that are also similarly dirty. You would also notice one of the larger ones has 3 empty wine bottles that have been kind of tied to his back to make some kind of a little ornament. And as he kind of walks, and it's this very weird waddling kind of walk, the bottles clink together ever so slightly.
Okay.
Shall we leave? Continue. Okay.
You guys progress along. Tina, if you could make a call it a perception check as you continue around. Without too much trouble, you bow out and walk about 100 feet away from this. Walk by it, up a rise.
What fire did I
You're
27?
27, okay.
Killing it.
You guys walk fairly uneventfully for about 45 minutes. Nothing seems to disturb you, although it is starting to get closer to night. Probably about 6 o'clock, you can see the first elements of pink and red creeping into the horizon. Are you guys doing anything over the course of this 45 minutes?
I think I'm just kind of like...
So you watch as your friend, fairly familiar to you, just kind of whispering to themselves. You know that he has a predilection for talking to mold and fungi.
Feeling kind of envious that he's talking to something and I'm not, I take my snow globe and start whispering to it.
Okay. There's a moment where you look back, Tina, and you can see your two comrades who you've known for your entire life just whispering to objects very mysteriously. And you can see your arcane trickster friend kind of every now and then looking over and starting to just whisper louder. It becomes kind of a whisper off. But you guys do progress without issue. You get to a bend in the road, and walking off of it just a little ways, you can see on this bend, there is this fallen tree. You would see that, and you would probably stop because you can see that there are a couple of things of interest. There are bodies, at least 3 of them, slumped over, one against a tree, 2 over on the ground. Outside of that, I mean, the path continues around on the other side of the tree. There's a small patch of tangled growth around a little pond. What do you guys want to do?
I'm looking for any fungus.
Okay. Are you going like right to the scene and looking around?
I'm just like, ooh.
I'd like to.
I think I'm going to the fallen tree.
Okay.
And I'm seeing if it's
Make a nature
like
check.
old rotten
as
tree
he
or.
starts to move, I kind of go,
Wait a moment.
Oh, nature
Yep.
is 21.
Okay. You go, oh, wait, and he's gone. Just kind of scurrying out, and you can see his eyes kind of big, focused on like the base of the tree to see if there's something exciting. As you reach over to it, this is still living. It was purposefully, you can see there are hack marks around it. It's been cut and felled, probably within the last 3 or 4 days, to block this path, perhaps.
Trees cut. By what? Choppy stick. Oh. Why they not take log?
Men folk stupid.
Anything else you guys want to do? There are 3 bodies that are down.
I am going to go over to the bodies
Yep.
and pick through them.
Okay. There are 3. So you can see there's one slumped up against the tree. This one, like, advanced state of decay. There are maggots writhing all over it. There's this big burst in the chest. The other 2, one of them looks as if it's had its neck broken. The head is unnaturally twisted around, like the face is laying in the dirt, but you can still see the chest facing up.
Okay.
The third one has the marks of being speared through the chest and then, like, tossed aside.
Any backpacks near them or pouches on them that I can see?
Make a general investigation check. You can kind of pick through all of them. You're looking at the other one, I would assume.
I'm like, log is still fresh, but these bodies, how long have they been there now?
Okay, make a medicine check.
That's going to be a 25.
25.
How moldy are they looking?
Okay, make a medicine check.
How
With a
decayed?
25, you do find on one of them, it looks as if you note, having gone through a number of pockets in your time, these have been gone through. You know, the pockets themselves are inside out.
Okay.
You can see that areas have been cut away to allow easy access to interior items. You do find a set of manacles that was not taken.
Okay.
I'm
I'm gonna pocket those.
Sure. As you're you can add manacles to your inventory. For a kobold, very big. They would not fit on your wrists. In the smallest kind of setting, still far too large. They're designed for medium-sized humanoids. You also find in a tree near one of those or one of those bodies 2 arrows that, when you pull them out, are of an orcish design.
Okay.
This sort of grayish wood and this very uneven yet strangely, when you really look at it, symmetrical feather placement that kind of makes a spiral almost.
Okay.
But that's kind of all you would find. What was your nature check or medicine check? Sorry.
That was a 6 from me.
6. They've definitely been dead for at least an hour.
Ooh, yeah.
But I will say, you do notice one of them seems significantly more decayed.
They
The one
still
with its, you touch them, they're cold.
Okay.
But you can see this chest has been caved in by some kind of concussive force, and then like elements of the flesh are already stripped clean, and the bone is like visible clearly through it. There is this purplish kind of rot that
Ooh.
seems to be necrotic in nature and around the wound.
Can I, like, analyze that further? I think I'm like,
Make an Arcana check.
no, Jumanji.
No,
No Jumanji.
Ooh. That is a 19.
With a 19, you get into the wound a little bit. Just, I'm imagining touching it with your bare hands, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm like kind of immune to
I would imagine.
gross.
You begin to
rotty
pick
things.
through the wound, and as you pull elements of the flesh away, it has this whitish quality to it when you pull like the purple pus aside that shows that it's been necrotized instantly. And there's a moment as you touch it where you do feel this kind of gentle tap on your shoulder. And you turn around and you feel like the mushrooms are with you. You feel this connection to the spores and the rot.
I think I like try to scrape a little bit of the purple
Okay.
and then just kind of like rub a bit onto my shoulders.
So you guys watch and you hear this kind of as he pulls away elements of what is flesh bound with mold and kind of wipes these purpley brown streaks onto his shoulders.
What do the fungus provide?
That's what?
Gross. Everything. I found big green dum-dum arrow.
Oh, yes. Big green dum-dum.
And you're holding it, and it's like, starts here and goes out here. For you, it's a very large arrow, but yeah, it is a big green dum-dum arrow. You guys reconvene a little bit. It seems as if this event, whenever it happened, because you guys have no idea, was a little bit in the past, and somebody has already gone through these bodies. There are, I would say, with your check, you would also see that there are a set of footprints, one larger and one smaller, leading a little bit to the west, kind of in the direction that you guys would be heading.
Okay. Also found footprints going where we go.
Man footprint.
Dum-dum footprint.
Oh, dum-dum.
Not inspiring.
What do you guys want to do?
Follow the dum-dum
Follow our
footprint.
dum-dum.
Follow the footprints.
Dum-dum.
Tina, are you taking lead again? Yeah. Please make a survival check.
Only a
Only
21.
You guys progress deeper into the forest now, going away from the path a little bit. And in doing so, travel for about 20 minutes, picking your way through denser and denser vegetation. You begin to pass through these other elements of the shaded forest and get to an area maybe 300 feet away. When you really look, there are parts where you can see all the way to this trail. But just beyond maybe 200 feet, you stop because you notice that there is this cave. Tina, if you could make a perception check, please.
Where's the key?
24.
24, okay. Within this cave, you see very faintly the outline of a woman. It seems as if you can see the face, but it's difficult because of how far it is, and she is within this cave. It's like just kind of like the edge. But she appears to be wearing kind of like a pale dress. And you do see as one hand kind of hangs by her side, there are these nails that are a little bit unnaturally long. And you see just behind her, there is the form, maybe a rock or like a pile of something. It could be like a very large backpack, almost like a hiker kind of thing. And as you see that,
Wait. Is woman.
Woman.
Is
Dum-dum woman.
Come see. Come.
Sure. What perception check if you would like to go see?
Come see.
Oh no.
It is a small one. Look at that.
That is a 24.
24.
That's a 3.
3. You kind of look up, and as you as you were kind of looking out, you were very distracted because in this area you do see that you don't see a woman. You do see this kind of slumped over figure of a man up against the far wall of this cave, and you can kind of see the entrance and it twists out of sight, but up against the far wall there is this slumped over figure, and you do see something gleaming off of it. And it takes most of your attention away.
Shiny.
Matt, I will say with the 24, you notice that you don't see a woman either, actually, and now that you look again, you don't either. But you do see that there is this body of a man dressed in very simple clothing, slumped just inside the wall of the cave, not moving. Something looks very off about him. But you too would see that there is something gleaming off of, probably like a really fancy belt buckle or something like that.
No woman.
No.
Shiny belt.
Shiny. But
Go see shiny.
Go
see shiny.
we should pick.
I would like to roll stealth.
Not
To
so
go-
good. Something wrong.
Be
Shiny.
Be
But this needs
Okay, so you get very sneaky.
Alright. How sneaky do you get? Oh, I get really sneaky. So that is
There's
going
treasure.
to be a 28.
You
Snuck
watch
as
as your
fuck.
comrade takes this sort of patchwork. Do you have like a cloak or something like that?
I do.
I imagine all rogues have cloaks. So maybe it's like a bias.
Yeah.
You take this cloak and kind of pull it over yourself, and as you go, like rub it into some of the foliage, and you get these like streaks of green and brown, and all of a sudden you see movement, and it's just branches. And this kobold that you've known for your entire life is gone. You pick your way closer and closer. How close are you getting?
I'm going to get within 10 feet.
Okay. Are you coming up like so the cave itself is set into the side of like a sort of low cliff face. It maybe goes up about 40 feet.
Now, is this a cave that I can kind of see in that is one of those like dead end caves, or does it have much more into it?
What is your dark vision? 60?
As a kobold, we have improved dark vision, so I think it's
120?
120. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So looking into this cave, it goes in.
Oh, that's the case.
Perhaps a little bit of visual perspective would be helpful. Let me pull out. Yeah.
Good case.
Oh, sorry. It is 60 feet.
60 feet?
Yep.
We'll put this aside for just a moment.
Okay.
You can look into this cave and you do see, first of all, there is this slumped over body. And looking up, it is a man, a little bit of a mustache, brown hair. His face has been slashed to the point where there are ribbons of flesh that hang off. There are flies, but it seems to have happened fairly recently because there are no maggots. The skin itself is not terribly discolored. You
I'm gonna say I get jealous and sneak after him.
make a stealth check.
I did, and that is 26.
Okay.
One less. So close.
26. So you also kind of you watch as all of a sudden you look and you don't see your friend and you turn and you're like, and she's gone also. Just vanished. And
Me sneak too.
make a stealth check, please. Make a stealth check.
I'm actually.
Sneaky kobold.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say you're about 15 feet behind Tel.
Bet you my vision's
Whoa.
better though.
Alright, I guess I'm just gonna
I believe it.
not super sneaky. Because I got a 7.
So
I'm like, I'm gonna sneak too!
and you hear behind you this, and like this large kobold follows after you, not in any way stealth. But you guys do approach. You can see that this cave does stretch back a little bit out of your dark vision. But there are
Whatever our dark vision is, you can add 30 to mine.
fair. There are
Vision.
there are stalagmites going up from the floor, especially towards the wall,
150.
kind of coming up. There's stalactites coming down. The cave itself is maybe 11 feet tall.
Specifically, this shiny thing I saw.
Oh, so you look down at the body. Make an investigation check.
any.
I'm looking for
That is going
that
to
mold.
Okay, make a nature check.
I'm looking for because we're going into a cave now.
It
There's
is a
probably
fairly
some
dry
good mold. Oh.
So that's going to be
Oh.
a 17.
Okay. Looking down, you see on this man a little belt buckle, and it's handcrafted. Probably not by a blacksmith. It looks like it was kind of amateurly made, but it's just an M.
Okay.
But it's a shiny piece of metal.
I am going to cast Mage Hand,
Okay.
and I'm going to go in and have it reach in and grab off.
So you cast Mage Hand, and this sickly little purple hand appears. It's actually a kobold sort of claw, and it stretches out along this ethereal tether to you.
Okay. I'm going to have it go on out and.
What is the strength of Mage Hand?
So the strength of Mage Hand is hold on, let me
I believe
I
it
want to say
is.
it's 3.
yes, but with Mage Hand as an arcane trickster, it does
Mage
allow
Hand
me,
Ledger Maid.
it allows me to grab things that are on people.
Okay.
Let me check that real quick.
Go ahead and just make a sleight of hand check.
Okay.
At advantage.
I do it. So that is going to be a 24.
24, yeah, no problem. This little hand goes out and just hooks the thing off. There's like a dink as it separates from the belt itself. It clatters onto the floor in front of you, and you pick it up. You can add 1 M belt buckle to your inventory.
Shiny M.
Shiny M. While he's doing that, what are you doing? Looking for the mold?
Yeah, I got a 21.
21. You creep through, and I'll give you a little, now that you're getting into the cave itself.
I'm like looking up at the walls and stuff, seeing if there's any good moisture for that.
It's never ended up meeting the ground, so
Fungies.
I'll put these little giveaway dice right there. Beautiful.
Bingo,
Okay.
bango, we got ourselves
So,
a map, folks.
Let me throw over the battle camera here as I adjust it so you guys can see a little bit better. I want to give it kind of like a cool, look at that. Great. Look at that, beautiful.
Oh, excuse me.
So, looking in, you can see that there is this cave. You see, you guys would be like right about here. You are looking for fungus. You are investigating these. This guy, you are creeping up as well. You can see that this is a chunk that rises straight up to the ceiling, connects. So there is no kind of over that. There are stalagmites that are scattered
This is
throughout
like
the
2
cave.
paths.
Kind of 2 paths, yeah, and it seems like they probably meet up at the other side. You guys can't necessarily see that, but this is sort of what you see. It is dark within this cave.
I think I'm looking for that. I'm going this way for some fungus.
Okay.
I'm like checking out
Looking for some fungi.
around here.
Make
Yeah.
a perception check.
Or a fun guy. Hey.
That's 17.
17. With the 17, there is this moment where you can, as you round the corner and get to about here, you can see standing in the very back, there is this pale, very faintly glowing image of a woman, hair cast down over her face. You can see these hands kind of hanging by her side. They are weirdly elongated, and you notice she's not touching the ground.
I think seeing this, I kind of like whoop, sneak back
Take a couple
I'm
steps
going-
back.
and like
Okay.
sneaky
You
sneak.
move yourself
I go.
a little bit.
Friends.
Are you intending to go all the way around? When you get to here, you also, especially given your sight, don't even need to roll. You see this figure, and I would say, given your background as a gloomstalker, you've seen these wandering through the nearby swamps and the mirelands before. You've seen banshees. This one lurks here, and as you go to sight,
Fun fact, I'm invisible in the dark.
fair, it also doesn't see you. But it just kind of hangs there. It appears to be waiting for something.
I go.
Spooky lady.
And I would also say, given your eyesight, you see right here, there is a large, maybe 7 feet long iron trunk. There are elements of rust that creep over it. It's old, whatever it is. It is huge. I mean, this thing, you all three could probably fit in. And it's just kind of shoved into
Far
the
away
corner.
is the lady from the truck.
Let me get the lady out
Get
here
the lady
for
out.
you.
Spooky lady
with the spooky lady.
I think I even have the spooky lady with me.
Spooky.
Spooky lady.
Come closer. Come.
What use her?
As she's saying to come over there, I'm gonna grab him by the tail and start dragging him this way.
Okay. Are you opposing him as your clutch mate comes by and just kind of hauls you off with your tail?
Spooky lady.
As he's kind of like, you can feel his feet scraping around as he do.
I turn and I'm like,
Spooky lady.
I dust off some of the fungus that is now on my hand.
Yeah, and
his
so
tail.
as you grab him, your hands come away.
it starts
And
rubbing
there are these,
everywhere.
yeah, it is this like it's this grayish kind of mold that as you like wipe it, it converts into this almost like a Vaseline kind of consistency. It's and as you wipe it away, it doesn't crumble like you want it to. It just
And now you have it on both hands.
I end up before I get all the way closer, I go to the wall and start trying to
scrape it off. It's very dry. That's of note. You rub it off, and there are these streaks of kind of
I think-
this gross.
I
beard.
see this and I'm like, oh, great idea, and I like start rubbing the wall.
Precious.
Okay.
It's gross. Look. It's lady. It's just.
And as you peer around, there is this ghostly figure rushing towards you. I need you guys to roll initiative. You guys are
I'm
yelling
imagining
about your
like
precious here.
I'm imagining a Scooby-Doo out from behind a wall, and then she just rushes us all.
And you pull up the light.
Decent
Oh, man. I thought you guys would get farther than this with that combat. I didn't actually think you'd actually even end up with that, quite frankly.
Oh,
God.
secret tunnel through the mountain.
We did it. We're gonna die, but we did it.
I am the spook.
Oh man.
All right. Anybody natural 20?
Nope.
25 to 20 for initiative.
21.
That's nice. I got a. Oh no.
I didn't get over 20.
I didn't either.
21 is... Tina, what is your character's name again?
Etro.
What is it?
Etro.
Petra. Matt, what's yours?
Choco.
And your initiative?
16.
16.
Is that Chapo?
Choco.
Choco.
Like the taco.
We call him
And
Triple.
Michael, what is your character name and initiative?
Bones
Actually,
with a Z
Choco
Yeah.
the pizza.
and 19.
19. All right. Bonza.
Bones with a Z.
Etro, you're up first. Bones, you're second. Choco, you're third. And the Banshee is going last.
Oh good.
Good,
She
good.
does
Good.
reach to about here.
Oh.
So, Etro, what do you want to do?
I'm going to. We're kind of too close for a bow. I'm gonna run up with my short sword drawn.
Okay.
I do have +10 to my movement for the first round.
Sorry, this is the wrong music. I want to pull up the more appropriate music, but yes.
Yay.
You just
This is a bit too gladiator.
a little bit too gladiator. Okay.
So I'm going to make my way toward her with my short sword drawn.
Okay.
And I do
So.
have 10 extra movement.
30. Okay. So you get right up to this creature, and as you do, give me 1 second because there is something else that happens here.
Sure.
Battle music. Here we go. So now that I have the appropriate music, you approach this banshee, like immediately drawing your blades and rushing forward. You get low and blend into the actual cave elements itself. I'll say that this is technically still considered the forest, despite the fact that it is inside of a cave. You get right up to it. Go ahead and you want to attack?
Yes.
Roll your attack.
20, dirty 20.
Dirty 20, yeah. So you strike out, and as the ethereal sort of elements of it slip around, you do seem to strike something hard. Roll for damage.
Wonderful. That's 10.
10, and this was a dagger?
No, it is with a short sword.
Short sword. Okay, so as you swipe through with the short sword, it seems to catch something but still passes clear through her. It does seem to do damage. You hear her kind of just like pull back a little bit, but you don't. It doesn't do as much damage as you would hope.
Well, I get 2 more, so.
Good, roll your attacks.
That's higher than the last one. It's a 24.
Yeah, go ahead and roll damage. That definitely hits. After this sword rips through, you pull it around for another blow.
That's 6 plus my bonus, which is another 8, so 14.
14 points of damage. Okay.
That's a lot of damage.
It is. Again, does seem as if it does less than you would imagine. So as it comes back through with the backhand, it arcs up through the side, and you can see bits of this kind of phantasmal ectoplasm, perhaps, spattered to the side, but as it hits the ground, it seems to evaporate.
And my last one is also a 24 to hit.
Also a 24, yes, that also still hits.
And that's 9 points of damage.
Okay. So, you slash first down and across, and it carves elements of this white kind of flowing ribbon of sort of ethereal force. It shreds away. You go uphand and it splatters to the side. The final one you thrust through, and it pierces straight through her. She hisses and howls at you as elements of the tendril seem to almost wrap around the blade. You pull it free. Still seems to be doing okay, and it is pissed at you.
I'm sure it is.
That is your turn?
Yeah.
For sure?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. That brings us to Bones.
Fun fact, I do have the sentinel feet.
Okay, so Sentinel. Good to know. Good to know.
Not
that it
Kobold
actually-
with Sentinel.
Not that it
Fantastic.
actually really
I
matters
love it.
given
doesn't,
the
but
Banshee's element
it
kind of
doesn't.
nature, but go ahead.
Just so you know.
So I'm going to scream after, or scream, gloomy friend. Sorry, that was too work. Gloomy friend.
Perfect. Much smaller.
Yeah. And I'm going to rush 10 feet forward and skid with my short bow drawn.
Okay.
And I'm going to fire because it is next to my gloomy friend.
Yep.
I get advantage.
Yes, you do. So this is a sneak attack, technically.
Sneaky. So that is going to be. Let's see, with my short bow, that is going to be a 21.
Okay. That hits. Go ahead and roll damage for that.
Okay, so I get to roll. Let's see, that's 1d6 for short bow, and then I get to add 4 more d6s. So first,
Yeah, that's a lot. Do you need d6s?
I have. So I just rolled the first one, which was 8,
Okay.
and then I roll the sneak attack damage. Oh, that is super unfortunate. So that is 16 in total.
16 in total. So
Got 3 ones.
you rush to the side and plant your feet, like skittering. You hear pebbles like away from you. You draw the arrow and fire. Right after, I gotta remember all these names. Etro strikes right through the middle and pulls it out, and this creature howls in its face. Your arrow, like right as the form seems to close around the wound, strikes right into where that was about to hit, and again, like tears open. You can see bits of this glowing white and blue ectoplasm like spatter out into the ground. It still doesn't seem to do the amount of damage that you would like it to do.
Okay. I am. I'm then going to bonus action,
Sure.
and I'm going to dash.
Okay.
So I'm going to get right over here.
Yeah, you dash and you kind of dart around and hook around the corner. You now kind of garrison across. You can see just like the bits and tendrils of this form kind of flickering out. You also see right in front of you there are elements of bone, like a spinal column and a rib cage kind of coming up and around. Part of it a little bit away. Other things have died here. That your turn?
That is my turn.
That brings us to you, Matt, aka Chaco.
Alright. I'm
El
going to
Chaco.
use my symbiotic entity, which takes a wild shape slot.
Okay, and what are you wild shaping as?
So this symbiotic entity, rather than changing into a beast form, I gain 5 temporary hit points for each level I have.
Okay.
And while this is active, I also deal extra damage for another move that I have,
So is
Halo of Spores.
Is that 40 extra hit points? That's crazy.
That's a lot of hit
Okay.
points.
Yeah, I'm like, come to me, my spores!
And
And then I just like have all this fucking mold.
As
Just
this
mold.
happens, you see the things
Mold
smeared
cloaks.
on the walls, those kind of creamy bits of fungus, all of a sudden off the wall and just adhere. And it's almost like this fungal, moldy armor that just increases. It creeps and crawls, and you can see elements of white with these little veins kind of crawl up and almost form like a hood, with little elements that kind of away, and you see these eyes, beady eyes gleaming through.
And I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
real beefy.
I've got like. So I've got my like totem scythe, and then I've got my wooden shield where I like take them out,
Okay.
and I'm gonna run at this thing.
25, 30. Okay. That's 30 feet of movement gets you right behind Bones, or right behind Etro, who is like currently being reached at.
Okay, and then I
I screech back.
We'll have to see.
I don't think I have anything great for my bonus action.
Okay,
So I'm
is that your
gonna
turn?
just pass on that and be ready to go with my reaction.
Okay. It is the Banshee's turn. At the start of her turn, any creature within 60 feet of the Banshee must make a Wisdom saving throw. So, Bones and Etro, please make a Wisdom saving throw. You are just, I think, in the range as well.
A natural 20.
Natural 20.
I'm also proficient in it.
That is going to be, you said wisdom?
Wisdom saving throw.
Okay, that is going to be a
I got a dirty
17.
20.
Okay, great. Don't need to bring out my status markers. As you gaze upon this figure, it is, as it begins to scream at you, this beautiful woman, but as the mouth opens, it stretches unnaturally large.
Nope,
and you
nope,
can
nope,
see
nope, nope.
teeth that just go back and are crooked and some kind of pushed together. You see elements of teeth sticking out of the throat and the tongue. And this overwhelming urge to run, especially for a kobold, passes from all of you. You guys have seen pretty terrifying things. You've actually seen banshees
I'm just
before.
like,
At the beginning of its turn,
Protects me.
it
Use your
turns,
fungus as advisor.
noticing that none of you are terrified of it, and it begins to howl this horrific shriek. I need anybody within 30 feet, so you are actually spared from this that can hear it, which is the two of you, to make a Constitution saving throw.
wee.
16.
Okay.
Dice are looking good today. That is a 22.
As this shriek echoes through the chambers, it gets into your ears. It feels almost as if something is reaching in.
And then I
you
just have mold
feel-
plug it up.
You feel this sort of this icy sensation kind of coursing through your veins towards your heart, and as that happens, you feel this kind of and these toadstools kind of out of each of your
Just
ears.
like sticking out the
You
side
feel
of
that
it.
it passes. You also, as this happens, you can feel this sensation, but you shrug it off. This is your home, and you will not be intimidated by it. That is its action. Dang, well done. It is going to take its movement. It does become like incorporeal and shifts.
Where does it shift?
I mean,
Wait a second. Was it there for a moment? Or did
Yes.
it just go incorporeal?
it was incorporeal as it
Okay.
passed through. But there is this kind of as it turns into this mist and swirl, and it shifts forward and suddenly coalesces back into this horrific figure. That is its turn. It does not provoke Sentinel because it does become ethereal, unfortunately. That brings us back to Etro.
I'm gonna cast Hunter's Mark on it.
Okay, Hunter's Mark. So, how do you cast Hunter's Mark? It is an unusual kobold spell. And suddenly, above it, you do see this sort of scratchy-looking kobold sigil that's almost like an arrow pointing down at it, that hangs ever so slightly in the air. Yeah, exactly. Very World of Warcraft raid style.
I'm gonna drop the short sword and
Clatters to the
draw
ground.
the short bow.
Pull that off your back.
And I get 3 hits with that.
So, yes, you do. Go ahead.
23
For what?
to hit.
Yeah, that absolutely hits. Go ahead and roll damage on that. And with Hunter's Mark, remind me, that doesn't make the attacks magical, do they?
No,
Okay.
it gives me an extra d6 whenever I hit, and advantage on perception and survival checks.
Absolutely. So go ahead and roll that extra d6 as well.
15.
15 points of damage. So, again, as the arrow hits, you see it kind of zoom, and then just kind of drop out of the form. It does seem to do damage, although not as much as you would want. You guys have gathered from this point, it doesn't appear as if non-magical attacks are doing full damage against it. It appears resistant, though not immune.
27 to hit.
27 to hit. Yeah, that definitely hits. And it's starting to show some wear. You can see through it a little bit more than you could previously.
16 points of
16,
damage.
yeah.
Nice.
You're adding the extra 1d6 for Hunter's Mark, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is a gloom stalker in its element.
Stalking through the gloom.
22
Stalking
to hit.
dog.
22 to hit. Yeah, roll damage on that one.
Is only 8.
Or how much? 8?
8.
Okay. So, as you, Matt, see this figure right in front of you and begin to look as if
I'm
it's
over
about
here.
to begin shrieking, or sorry, Bones, when you see this figure suddenly right in front of you, about to begin shrieking, suddenly there is this kind of, and like you see this arrow kind of clatter end over end through it. Again, 2 other ones do, and you see this figure as it's like kind of starting to shift around, looking to see, maybe evaluating what to do in this situation. It's beginning to seem a little hurt. That is Etro's turn. Do you wish to move anywhere?
Maybe like 10 feet that way, just to like.
Get a line of sight
Yeah.
if it goes around. Cool. That brings us to you, Bones.
Alrighty. I am going to. I'm going to take up my snow globe.
Absolutely.
Put away my bow and take up my snow globe, and I'm going to hold it up above my head and start chanting.
And as this happens, you can see the snow in the globe begin to kind of make this circular swirling pattern within it around this nude man.
It's
And
amazing.
then,
It's very tasteful.
Very.
we have.
What do you cast him?
Yeah, I'm just going to do it at first level. So there is going to be 3 darts of blue energy
Sure.
above the snow globe, and they're all going to go out to her.
Okay, yeah, so magic missile.
Yeah. I cast magic missile. That's going to be a 5.
Okay.
That's going to be a 3. And
actually
that's
just
going
like-
to be a 2.
Okay, 5, 3, and 2 for a grand total of 10.
Cheeks, little.
And
noodles.
as these little things, you shake the snow globe, it's almost as if little elements of the snow begin to drift out and form these 3 globules of blue light, which suddenly just shift out, and you, from behind, can see all of a sudden these glowing contact points of energy that ripple across of it. And it looks hurt. That does full damage to it. Let me get back to it. I kind of lost her for a second. That brings us. Or do you have anything else you want to do?
I am going to move right here and kind of snow globe in one hand and hand on my short sword in the other.
Okay.
And just kind of hold the way, but I'm shaking very visibly.
Okay. Yeah, you're like trembling. This thing, it's hurt, but it's coming for you. That is your turn. That brings us to Chaco.
I'm gonna go 10, 20, 30.
With a mighty cry.
And I'm gonna attack it with my moldy scythe.
Stab it!
Okay. Go ahead and
Well,
attack.
You hate to see that.
Oh,
That is a natty 1.
oh
So it would be an 8.
Okay. As you
Would be an 8.
as you strike out, there is this kind of wave of this mold and fungus that hooks into this large scythe and swipes at it, kind of breaks off and clatters to the ground, and suddenly just kind of into the sludge of purple.
Okay. Dang it, that's not the.
What do you want to do?
I think I'm gonna cower in fear in preparation for
Sure.
grovel, cower, and be.
Oh, great Kobold ability. One of the greatest Kobold abilities of all time. I think it's so good. It's so much better than pack tactics, which you guys should remember.
Yeah.
You do have
We do have pack
gain the benefit of back tactics. That is Chaco's turn. It is now the Banshee's turn. Looking around, it is not doing great. It no longer has its wail. It is going to
Cower. Readying my cower action.
It is going to become incorporeal and dart forward, reappear over here for 25 feet.
Question. As my reaction, I have I have Halo of Spores.
Okay.
So it started within 10 feet of me.
It did indeed.
So I'm going to use my reaction to deal 1d6 necrotic damage if it does not succeed on a Constitution saving throw against my DC 17.
And it's what kind of save?
Constitution save against my...
How does an 18 do?
An 18 just beats it.
There you go. So as you kind of burst this little extra, you see some of these weirdly almost like not sunflower, what are, dandelion like puffy things
Yeah, little
kind of burst
spores.
out. Doesn't seem to affect it as it vanishes and reappears.
I spored on it.
Unfortunately, you don't get the spore. It is, however, going to reach out bones and grab you with its corrupting touch. That
can I use a reaction?
depends because it just rolled a natural 20. So what do you want to do?
Oh, I would like to have the damage that's happening to me
That's
right
a
now.
great idea. So, it reaches out and just seizes you by the throat, lifting you off the ground by a solid foot. It is going to deal.
Help him, my spells!
Oh. Okay. That is going to be 24, 25, 26 points of necrotic damage.
And is that
Halved.
halved? Okay, so it's
13.
having the... Oh, thank God.
Thing that's halved.
As it seizes you, the nails digging into your scales and flesh underneath, you wriggle in such a way to keep it from penetrating in any places too vital. But it hurts, and it drops you at the end of its turn. It does not. You can't do incorporeal twice, but it does step back. So if you want an opportunity attack, you do have it. You used your reaction already.
I did, so I can.
Steps back. It seems to be trying to retreat. That brings us back to the top of the order. Etra, what do you want to do?
I think I'm gonna take my full movement forward.
Okay.
15, 20, 25, 30.
Yeah.
40, I believe, right?
No, only on the first turn.
Okay, 30.
And then I'm going to attempt to shoot it
Am I
again.
technically prone, or did I land...
No, you land on your feet.
Okay.
No problem.
Uh,
More for flavor. You're fine.
Going to attempt to hit it again.
Okay.
Short bow. Cause I can.
Sure, you come running up with the short bow already knocked.
That's a 21.
Okay. So as you pull the arrow around and you pull back, there's a ding, and the string breaks.
Seriously? On a 21?
Oh, I thought you said 1.
No, 21.
Oh, no, absolutely not. My fault. I heard 1, and I was like, oh, yeah, of course it's
21.
21. That hits. Go ahead and roll damage.
That's max damage.
Which is
17.
17. Have 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 7 rather. No, 8. It looks hurt. So as this first arrow streaks through it, it hits it in such a way that it kind of goes up and through the neck, and you watch as this bluish sort of chunky liquid spatters out onto the ground. One of its hands goes up and it kind of blinks into this incorporeal form for a moment before it reassembles, although parts of it are beginning to unravel. It is extremely hurt.
Next one is a 28.
Yeah, go ahead and roll damage on that. This last one goes like straight between the eyes.
Oof.
It's 12.
12? Tell us how it happens.
It like almost lodges for a second, and then she just like dissolves.
You watch as this final arrow just lodges, and it's kind of doom, and you hear like the as it like actually sticks in, and then you see as the mouth begins to open, it just crumbles into dust, and it just drifts into this powder. There is this gleaming pile of powder on the ground, but for the moment, it appears that you are out of battle. The bone just kind of drops onto the ground.
I'm gonna take this time to like scavenge and pick up as many of the arrows that move through as.
Okay, make an investigation check.
I think I'm gonna go inspect that blue chunky spatter.
Okay.
I'm going to, on the ground,
18.
take a chug of one of my health potions.
Okay, go ahead and you just immediately and just kind of just chug the whole thing
I
down.
get up from
18
my
for okay. And you're looking at this powdery stuff.
Powdery stuff and just kind of the general area, looking to retrieve as many of my arrows as possible.
You pull up these. You with the 17, you get all your arrows back. You find them
18.
without 18. You find them without any problems. You also kind of looking at this dust. You were also examining the dust.
Is that what the blue chunky? Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, you're looking at the blue chunky stuff.
The blue chunky
Make a medicine check. You do find like a couple handfuls of this. It's like blue metallic sand almost.
That's a 17.
17. This, as you touch it, it's gummy and stretchy, and it has these properties, almost bioluminescent in its glowing properties. It smells of, like, old mildew and things that to you are very pleasant.
I'm gonna rub that on me too.
Okay. You kind of add this kind of, and it does glow ever so slightly before it kind of fades, and you are left with this sort of very uncomfortable, well, for most people, very uncomfortably sticky kind of stuff, like maple syrup that is dried. However, for you, it is lovely and a nice tactile sensation.
Gross.
What do you guys want to do?
I'm going to get up and actually do a similar thing to what, name was...
Etra.
Etra. The similar thing to what Etra was doing, and I'm going to look for my arrow.
Okay.
And that is going to be a 22.
Yeah, you do find on the ground over, you find your little arrow, and you
Find
pick it up.
anything else of note in the dust?
I'm gonna be
Nothing
like
else of note in the dust. It is a phantom.
I'm
shiny
gonna go pick up my
box.
sword.
Okay.
I go for.
Pick up your sword.
I'm going for the shiny box.
All right.
Then we're going for the
You
box.
get up to the shiny box and looking at it now. It's like a locked iron strong box of some kind. There is this big padlock on the front. There are elements of rust over all of it. If somebody wants to roll an investigation check.
I'm investigating the shit out of this thing with a. Woo! That's. It's just a 20.
Just a 20.
I thought I had like really good
You
investigation,
get up to it and
but
you
I have
kind of
shit
you
investigation.
take your hand and you scrub away elements of rust, kind of maybe half trying to replace it with some spores. And there's
like
a symbol.
whole trying to replace. I'm like, maybe if I rub some spores on this, it'll just sort of.
You watch as Chaco pulls out some more of the slime and begins to kind of rub it, and as you do, the rust rolls into the slime itself and peels away, and you see there is a sigil that is probably etched into this box. It's old. This box. It's been here for years probably. But you see it as a face, kind of round in its appearance, with these X's over the eyes and this kind of smile that looks as if it's been stitched shut. It is the lock itself is very ornate. Kind of holding it in your hand, it's about this wide.
I want to try to
Very
just
heavy feeling.
yank it
Make a
now
strength
that
check.
I've given it some good old mold covering.
Yeah, make a,
Open
make a,
it,
make a great
open
strength
it.
check.
I'm also still covered in my symbiotic entity for 4 hours.
Okay.
So
Great.
I guess I
rough track of the time.
okay.
But yeah,
What was that? Strength check?
strength check. You're trying to tug the thing off.
Yeah.
Yeah, strength check.
That's a solid 11.
Okay. With an 11, you go and you pull, and it just your hand just slips away. A lot of like fungal mold.
All right. I'm gonna.
You try.
I'm
No,
gonna.
no.
Wait, I want to put some spores on it and like rot it away.
No.
Okay.
So you try to kind of keep touching it, and your Gloomstalker friend kind of bodies into you and elbows you out of the way.
No.
Now you
And I
have
slide on in.
Okay, you little bits of rubber.
You've got some
All right,
some
so
of that
is
schmutz.
going to be a
I've
27
lived with you
for
for so
sleight of
long,
hand.
it doesn't
to
matter.
You've got schmutz. There's
So I
schmutz going
very happily pull
everywhere.
out a little pack, open it up. It has a bunch of tweezers
Oh,
and
he's got
picks and whatnot.
Yeah,
Do not.
little.
You
None of them
gotta
really
use
match,
one to
but they all
scrape
hit.
away the mold first.
Please. Got this.
Scrape it.
And so she holds you back as he kind of maneuvers these little tools. And after about 30 seconds, you do hear a little,
There's no.
and you pull, and the lock comes away, rust falling off of it. And you watch as Bones holds up the lock now.
He's distracted by fungus. That's fine.
He's having fun with us.
You want to open the
Gus?
the-
Who's
okay.
Gus?
There is this loud like as you open it up and it settles back on the hinges.
Shiny box open.
There are shiny things inside. There are,
I'm gonna scurry back over and like
rough
dig-
plants, 100 gold pieces, just scattered about. You know, they don't make a big pile. It's a large box, but they're scattered about. You also see there is a gray leather bag cinched up with some cord. It seems kind of empty, but it does emit this glow, and it's very clean. You also notice there is a set of leather armor, about humanoid size. It's like a soft purple cast to it. Very soft, treated, also very clean. Feels magical as well.
Medium humanoid?
Medium humanoid, but it does feel magic.
Okay.
What is?
Magic garments.
And as you hold this leather armor, it rattles for a second and then down into a size that would probably fit a kobold.
Oh! Shiny clothes me undress.
Okay, and you watch as Bones just begins to pull off these scraps of leather armor. This armor that you hold on your fingers is so soft and supple. It's almost like cloth, but you can feel the
Disgusting.
quality to it. It is strong. It functionally is leather armor, however, it is in fact glamored.
Yes.
And so you would imagine that while wearing this armor, you can change its appearance at will.
I want to grab the bag.
Okay, you pull this bag aside, and it feels empty, although there is a magical kind of quality to it.
I want to open it.
You open it up, and as you unwrap it, it's empty.
I'm gonna just go into the inside of the
I want to take a couple of
iron
the
box.
Okay.
I'm just gonna start spreading some spores
Okay.
around in there.
Not really sure what that does. Give me 1 second.
Oh.
You can just spread some slimy mold.
I'm just like putting my hands in places and then just letting the ooze sort of seep out from my symbiotic entity that I still have for a little under 4 hours now of just like mold
Just
oozing off of me at an exponential rate. Just like
So are you just kind of dropping the coins in?
Yeah.
Okay. You drop the coins in, and they go in the bag. That's where they are.
Put coins in back.
I see what you're doing there,
I end up
and I
coming
just
back.
start smoothing out all those
Not-
coins with
not-
my
not-
mold hands,
So as you grab
and
them, some of
scooping
the
them up
coins-
and sort of like there.
Yeah, and
Big
the coins
piles
that
of
Chaco
mold
is putting
hand.
in, like the ones that you put in, they're kind of like ting, 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 all individually. When he puts them in, it's kind of like a as they all stick together.
And when you go back in there, all of them are going to be covered with mold.
Yeah, and the mold does creep ever so slightly.
Over the next 4 hours, that
However,
is
you
going to
add-
get pretty gross.
About 130 pieces of gold into this bag.
Put it in my pocket.
It's going to get moldy too.
Does it feel any heavier or no?
Yeah, it feels pretty. It feels like there's 133 pieces of gold. It's really heavy. Wasn't before.
Shiny.
I'll put it in my pocket.
Kind of put it away. It doesn't necessarily fit. You probably have to like lash it to your belt. It's big. But yeah, no problem. What else would you guys like to do?
Anything else?
No, Krajak. Move forward.
My strong project.
Okay, and you guys turn around, making sure that everything. And you watch as Chaco kind of touches the walls as he goes, and seems to be spreading these spores around. You guys emerge out into what is now getting fairly dark. The sky is just streaked with purples and reds, and further away you can see that it's getting to night.
Once we get out of the cave, my attire has changed.
Okay, how do
I'm
you
in
look?
a tiny little suit and a top hat.
A tiny suit and a top hat. Okay. You see now where the leather armor had encased your kobold companion. There is now this little black suit, and you can see like little white cuffs protruding from them, and a little top hat with a black kind of ribbon. on it.
Look like one of them.
Look like Dum-Dum.
Yes, Kobold.
You look like man.
I'm going to go and start rubbing mold on it.
Interestingly, as you do, you kind of wipe the mold, and it doesn't seem to appear. You feel it leaving your hand, but it doesn't seem to appear on your item. Which to you is pretty unfortunate, because that's it's weird if something doesn't take.
I'm going to be like,
Magic man clothes. Evil.
and start rubbing even harder.
And so now you're just kind of like slowly taking steps back as you are like accosted by your companion, but you are getting no dirtier.
Must be pure. The fungus will provide.
And you kind of like cross your arms and you feel there's like stuff all over this armor, but it doesn't appear as if it is. And Chaco starts crying.
I start rubbing myself with mold to make myself feel better.
You begin to progress back in your original destination. So you guys moving now away from this cave. It's probably about 8 o'clock. You guys are getting like into the night itself. The last couple bits of light are beginning to fade. And as you progress forward, you guys, same marching order as before. We have Tina taking the lead, and we have Etro, Bones, and Chaco. That order? Correct. I need you to make a perception check as you continue to progress.
26.
Love that.
Crushing that.
Yeah, dude, the kobolds roll way better than Finger Gang ever has.
Kobold gang for the win.
That's why we're an elite squadron.
Finger gang ain't got nothing on us.
We're the
walk-
Black Teeth.
Jesus. This will be the first shirt that we actually make. So, you guys walk northward to the northwest. Yeah, northwest. Heading in the direction that you were sent. You travel for another half an hour, 45 minutes, and suddenly you stop because you, Etro, see in the distance a little bit of smoke. And you see and you begin to hear now there are voices, quite a few of them, but at a distance, and it sounds maybe like a crowd, and you can see above the tree line. And the trees are beginning to thin out now, and they have been for perhaps the last 10 minutes. But you can see now through the tree line, it transitions to a little bit of like kind of rolling grassy hills. You guys are drawing very close to Port Quit. You see above the tree line there are 2 wooden structures of some kind. One has these green and white flags, and you see the tip of a little stone peak. But other than that, not much. But you do hear these voices, and you hear
Are there tracks in the area?
Make a survival check.
22.
22. With a 22, I'm going to say you would see... Okay. Looking down, there are woodland creatures around. You see that there are boar in the area. You see that there are probably bears, wolves. There are a couple of humanoid footprints, although they may not necessarily be from... They seem to be heading in different directions. This is not so far outside of the city that people do not pass through here.
Sure.
So you even do find like little bits of rubbish and things like that.
So fun to note, while tracking other creatures, I learn exact numbers, their sizes, and how long ago they passed.
In the area, there appear to be a couple of bears, like two that seem to travel together. There also seems to be, at some point fairly recently, a pair of humanoids, heavier, so probably, maybe not human, maybe orc, maybe bugbear, something like that, but larger, that have traveled through the area, away past, you guys have already probably passed them. You would see, within the last day or two, probably a dozen or so people have come through in various errands, but there is not a lot of direction. You would find, as you do this, in, what was your roll?
22 for the survival.
22. With a 22, you... Okay, so you're getting like a little closer also and kind of looking at the whole area. You see that there is now, creeping a little bit closer, you follow some of the tracks and they go by a structure. Your eyes are drawn up and you see that there are like wooden palisades. You can see that there is now that little tip of stone goes down. It is a cone-looking hat atop a tiny little man, and you kind of feel this irrational anger kind of boil up inside. It is a statue, although the statue itself is maybe 15 feet tall, of a gnome with a little pointy hat. Yeah, you guys hate gnomes. You also kind of can now make out that there is like this crowded sound. This structure, it's this odd-looking wooden structure. It seems to have a lot of humans inside of it. You can hear voices kind of bubbling up. It seems excited. And now looking around, you also notice there are some tracks that you take keen interest in. 3 humans, humanoids. 1 very, very small set, probably gnome footprints. And a set of kobold footprints. Those seem to be heading in the direction of the structure. The kobold footprints are like kind of weirdly dragging, very sleepy looking.
I'm going to follow the
Hey, Buginator.
kobold.
Glad that it makes you happy. Okay, so you guys are going to follow these tracks.
I am.
I'm going to follow closely. As we start to follow, I'm going to have my glamour armor turn into a cloak.
Okay. The armor, and just regular armor itself, so this purplish kind of armor, but then all of a sudden behind there's this whoosh, and it's like this forest green cloak.
How long have
Not even
we
paying
been
attention.
traveling roughly?
So
About an hour.
focused
You got 3
on.
hours left on your So, you guys begin to follow. Are you trying to stay hidden at all, or just kind of following these footsteps? Because they do lead out through the forest and then into this clearing.
I am going
It's
to...
about 30 feet of clearing, and then the entrance you can now see, where there are a couple of humans milling about.
I am going to try to remain stealth.
Sure, make a stealth check.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna
I'm
just like
constantly
allow
alert
the
for
fungus to
danger.
envelop me
Okay.
and just sort of
Yes.
make me blend in
Sure,
the
make a-
natural environment.
Make a stealth check. Not super fungal in this area, but okay.
Yeah, but it's like
24.
pretty
Okay.
like
25.
I'm thinking like black mold
Crap, I lost.
all over.
So
Just
yet again, you start
lots
like
of black
rubbing
mold.
mold around all over you.
And
Oh, that's
I
pretty
constantly remain
sneaky,
alert to
sis.
danger. So there's that.
Is that
That is
just the
a
feat
20.
alert?
20. Okay.
That's the natural explorer.
This
Or
time-
19.
Oh, that's awesome.
This time you kind of like cover yourself
of
in
this.
this slime and you get down.
I
like
It's dark out.
You look around and you're like, oh, we're ready to go, right? And there's nobody there. You're left
Not so
behind
much.
I'm sneaky
You
too.
kind of start creeping forward, and you can see as you get a little closer, you see the back of Bones, who is like lowered down and basically just like blending into the grass, just like crawling forward. You see as you kind of whisper to yourself, sneak, 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 right from your right.
Be like Snake. So Snake. Be like Snake. When you get there.
Just now. Be like Snake. Be like Snake.
Be like
So all three of you are laying in the grass, whispering to each other about 30 feet away from some humans who, to your credit, have not noticed. You can see that there is this larger kind of like brunette human. He has like a beard. He's wearing this brown leather vest over this white shirt that's been rolled up to the sleeves. He's holding a tankard of ale and kind of leaning up against the door. He's talking to another gentleman, a little bit older, maybe in his 50s. Brown hair going into streaks of gray. No beard, but maybe like a little bit of a mustache. And they're talking.
Seagulls pass by.
There are different birds, and you do hear now over this kind of hum, and there's a lot of people inside the structure. You do every now and then hear this kind of this bear somewhere off in the distance. However, you guys now whispering to each other, you can see these two individuals. There are, let's give you a little bit of a visual reference here. This is the largest man.
Big man.
Yeah,
We are
real
ready
big
to
man,
zoom
real
this
big
bad boy out.
man. Yeah, probably.
Probably lift it up. That's best.
Give it the old. Oh.
There you go.
So,
Oh.
you guys,
Would
Pretty
it be
smooth
better
transition.
this way?
it's however you guys want, but you guys are approaching from here, so just as a reference
It'll
point.
fit better this way.
This is technically north.
Okay.
Ish, northwest. You guys are currently like right
good.
here, laying in the grass.
Okay.
You can see that there are. This is not how they look. However, I don't source middies for one shots always because it's very difficult. Because I decided to do this last week while we were streaming our last one shot. But you can see that there are these two humans kind of leading up right here. And now that you guys take a moment and are watching, there is another one. We'll see that this can be a human inside here. This one looks a little bit like black hair that's kind of bald but combed over a little bit. You can see he has this black mustache. He's smiling and kind of hanging out in the window, missing a couple teeth, but seems to perhaps be selling tickets, actually, to whatever this event is. It does have this sort of vaguely maybe festival-like theme.
Are we doing 3 kobolds in a trench coat?
You guys can certainly do 3 kobolds.
Let's see, does anyone have disguise self or minor illusion?
Yes, actually, I have disguise self.
Oh! Just get on top of everyone's shoulder.
So what are you guys doing? You guys want to do 3 kobolds in a trench coat? I mean, you guys don't have
on
a
a
trench coat.
technicality, I can make my armor look like a long trench coat.
You can.
Puginator, it's just a male gnome, but it's cast in stone, and this sculpture is not in fact finished, so it's hard to tell what kind of a gnome it is.
While we're deciding what to do, can I quickly cast mage armor on myself?
Sure. So you go ahead and kind of feeling anxious, almost instinctively, kind of like place your hand on yourself, and there is this kind of shimmer of arcane energy that then seems to fade, but you know is still there. So what are you guys doing?
What the...
Attack. Snakes. Sneaky snakes.
You're not sneaky.
Why
No worries.
snake?
Yeah.
Oh, snake.
And so to give you guys a little bit more perspective, these wooden structures, they do have roofs. You can see through these 2 large windows that are about 10 feet long, where this guy is kind of hanging out. You can smell food. It smells like cooking seafood, perhaps, coming from this direction. There are, the sound of people is coming from all within here. Actually, let me pull up something a little bit more, let's say appropriate for this here. Alrighty, so. Do a little bit of this, we'll do a little bit of this. I do a little bit of this guy right there. So you do, you're hearing people that are kind of like yelling out, and you can hear, it sounds like just the beginnings of excitement kind of waiting and building up.
We disguise self and sneak in.
It only applies to you. I'm not tied to you. You have to hide and cloak.
Oh, I can hide.
You hide?
Snakes?
I'm doing the wild shape
Into?
into a commoner.
Okay. So, as a kobold, one of your wild shapes that you can access is like a common human being, because to you that is a wild animal. And so you watch. Granted, now you have to remember, you're not... Yeah, no, wild shape, so you do get full size. So all of a sudden, while you are hiding in the grass, 30 feet in front of these two guys who are talking,
Very sneakily with a 19.
very sneakily, it's not... When you wild shape, you lose your stealth element a little bit because you grow 2.5
Okay,
feet.
then I'm gonna like. Are there any trees I
You
can
already
duck
said that
behind?
you would know how wild shape works.
Yeah.
So if you want, you can try to like.
Yeah,
back
I'm
your
gonna
way
like.
out.
I sneak.
And I sneak back.
Okay.
What you do?
Quick question about wild shape. So when he wild shape, because wild shape you can when you wild shape you can choose for your armor to stay on if it's size appropriate for the animal or it morphs into you.
It
Would
morphs
that
into
make
you here.
okay? So is he a naked man now?
Yes. So, first of all, as you wild shape, roll an intelligence check. Because your interactions with humans haven't been very much.
I've seen
You've seen humans, for sure.
people.
Dum dum.
looking good, yeah.
You're worse than dum dum.
That's a 6.
So you watch, off in the distance, you see your friend kind of look around really sneakily, and then shift, the bones kind of popping out of place as they elongate. And standing in front of you, still crouched all the way over at 2 feet tall. He is a full 5 foot tall human, but crouched all the way over, his hands held out in front of him like claws. You can see his butt kind of slightly side to side as if he still had a tail, though he does not. You can see his toes kind of hooked into the actual ground. This human kind of the eyes still darting about and this tongue like licking its lips every now and then. Very unnatural looking tiny little penis. But you know, just this crouching naked man.
I'm going to sneak over to him. Should I roll stealth?
You already rolled stealth. You're fine. You're very quiet.
Alright, I sneak over to him and stand up behind a tree.
You naked human. They don't want to see naked human.
I'm going to take out my spare cloak. I left my patchwork leather armor back in the cave.
Okay. You
Was
whip out
not
the
a-
spare cloak.
Yeah. So the spare cloak is me size. So I'm going to take off my leather armor
Okay.
and I'm going to hand it to him.
Okay. So as your friend removes this purple leather armor, it hands it to you, and it back out into like a size that would fit you.
Well, make look like cloth.
Put it on.
Okay, you pull on the leather armor, and as you do it, kind of you hear it kind of shrink down into a size where it fits.
Itchy.
It does have spores and kind of fungal stuff on it that you wiped on it before. But how do you want it to look? It is glamored, so the armor itself can change.
Be like human.
Okay, I'm gonna
Again,
picture.
remember, he's crouched down
I'm
like this.
picturing the most like non-offensive, passable human.
Yeah, roll an intelligence.
Ooh, that's a 17.
Okay. All of a sudden, the armor itself reverts and shifts, and you are wearing just a very
It's like-
simple white kind of
Yeah,
rough
just like-
spun cloth.
I see
some very
farmers.
simple-
I've seen farmers.
Simple
I'd
kind
match
of
a farmer.
trousers, some work boots that have mud on them. You're still crouched over, hunched over, and have this mad look in your eye, but you look pretty nice.
But you need to stand up straight like human. You
Stand.
crouch.
Stand up, stand up, stand up.
Yeah.
Very, and now he's like kind of pelvic thrusting out, like way back, and you watch as do you begin to approach as you're.
I good.
No, hands down side. Feet, unhook feet.
Roll a performance check at advantage as you are now being assisted very heavily by your team as they coach you through the basics of acting as a human 101.
Woo! That's a performance you said?
At
Yeah.
advantage.
At advantage.
Advantage.
Oh, that's pretty good because I don't have a great
Yeah,
performance.
that's what I thought.
Ooh, that's a 15. 18 minus 3.
Okay, still pretty good.
Yeah.
You watch as all of a sudden his back kind of straightens out. His arms kind of they're still like this, but they're at his sides now at least. So he looks like a little weird, not totally like a creepy kind of
Very stiff
Transylvanian
and like
slumlord.
uncomfortable human.
And as you guys are you gonna approach.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna just start like making my way.
His
over.
shoulders move, but his arms don't. But he does walk over and has a little bit of a saunter, more because he's used to walking on the balls of his feet as a kobold, less because he's confident. But there is this weird saunter as he stiffly moves over.
We doomed.
In your human voice, what do you say to these people?
Hello, friends.
The hands, it's worth noting, are like this. So as he holds up hands, it's very much one of these. You're always like relatively spocking it. You say hello, friends. They kind of turn. The one that's leaning up against the door stands up straight, takes another long drink, and it is 10:10. So we're gonna go to break right now. We're gonna come back and we'll start this interaction. Are the two of you following him? Kobolds are not unheard of in the city. Many cities do have communities of kobolds that live beneath it and are like, it's one of those they benevolently ignore each other.
Like you don't fuck around, and we'll look the other way when you steal our trash.
Kobolds, amazing natural tunnelers, and so oftentimes human cities will enlist them to dig their sewers, and the kobolds will just take up existence there. They'll come up at night to scavenge for things. They try to stay out of humans' way so that the humans don't involve them, and vice versa. You guys would know that there are urban kobolds in Port Quinn. They're not friendly, but they're there.
They don't like other kobolds.
No, they do not like wild kobolds.
And
Which
we're pretty
You
wild.
guys are aggressive.
Yeah.
So
Aggressively
it is
wild. Pretty
10
wild.
11
I would
We'll
like to
return.
be sneaky when
Okay.
we
Yeah.
come back.
when we come back.
I am.
It is 10 11. We'll be back at 10:25. See you then. Should I just let you guys keep doing it?
Yeah.
You
Just
go.
do this the whole break.
And we're back. Thank you guys
Doing
very
this
much.
all-
If you could
this
just
whole
actually
time.
turn the camera towards me, we shifted it in our melee. Perfect.
We were doing that so much that we knocked it around.
Welcome back to the Home of Adventures in Albaron. You are joining us today for our Kobold-themed one-shot.
Kobe Quest.
So far, our heroes have ignored the entire Grun community that they were presented with and proceeded on, thus falling into a Banshee's cave. They fought with the Banshee very bravely and did quite a good job, I would say, all things considered. You emerged without taking too much damage with some fancy new armor on your human shape-shifted friend,
I want it back.
who is currently walking up to these humans very stiffly, wearing these clothing.
Like an NPC.
Yeah, it's a slow kind of walk, and then stops, and then turns slightly.
Elder Scrolls 2 NPC.
no.
Just,
Oh no.
hello, travelers.
The human holding the beer, the human holding the beer, turns to you and just kind of says, "Oi, what's wrong with you?" I get a load of this one, and the other one kind of
Back problem.
Roll a persuasion check. Find all my
19 plus.
Nice.
-3.
Oh no.
14.
The older one
16.
looks and kind of takes a sip. Little bits of beer kind of hanging in his mustache. Just kind of nods and says, "Yep, age will do that to you." The other one kind of turns back. They begin to talk again.
Yep.
You can walk right in if you want. Just awkwardly, arms still kind of slightly out. It's like a Thriller kind of movement, but you walk in, and as you enter, right, this is your awkward human form. As you enter, you
Wait,
can
I got
smell.
pants on now. Put some. Wait.
You do have pants on.
Where's the
That was-
tape? Oh,
That was just the most spindly form I could find, or that I had on short notice. I didn't actually think you would shapeshift into a human.
here we go.
Fantastic.
You should have known that though.
I probably
should
should have.
have.
That was like in the first thing I thought of.
You said that today, though. I can't
yeah, but
just.
like
You still should
you
have
know,
known.
I think about it.
I homered you 2 entire creatures that you are not going to turn into. So.
I mean, I might.
Anyways, back to what we were doing. Also, really quick, as you progress in and see a variety of humans milling about, you can see now.
I'm
We're
like
a little
trying to blend
tilt.
in.
You can see through the doorway there are these wooden risers that have been constructed, and about 40 or so people all sitting there chatting excitedly. You can see beers in hands. You see 1 or 2 little flags. You can guess from the sound that there are more people over on this side. You hear. Make a perception check. What are the 2 of you doing while your human-shaped friend awkwardly just
Passive perception.
exchanges
17.
some words and then walks past the other 2?
Passive perception 17.
Investigation to see if there's any windows that we might be able to sneak on into, or would that be perception?
Perception.
So,
Or if you want to walk around and investigate, you can for windows. It's,
okay, yeah, I would like to walk around and see if there's any other entry points that we could get into.
sure, you're very used to finding other entry points and places. So go ahead and make an investigation check.
So that is going to be a what is it? Thank God I have super bonus proficiencies for that. So that is going to be a 16.
Okay. You walk around to the left, kind of beginning to circle around, away from where most of the humans seem to be approaching, because you do see there is a road that goes, and there is actually a wooden sign, and you being able to read common can see that it says Port Quinn, and it's kind of like an arrow going down that way.
Okay. And this is over this side?
Yeah, so you head on this side, and you do see as you get to right here, there is a door. And it's wooden, doesn't appear locked. You can see that there is a sign in common that just says employees only. It's written in red, kind of like not terribly well. The handwriting is really small, and so you do have to get kind of close to read it. And now that you think about it, something about the door does seem strange. It's sized for you.
I feel like I would have gone with you. So the 2 of us together.
Put those guys together. You guys can't necessarily follow your human-like ally very realistic for you guys, human-like ally into there. But you find the side door, very small.
I very gingerly check the door to see if it's unlocked.
Okay.
Careful, you must be.
Check it, and it turns loosely in your hand.
I'm going to stealth to kind of poke my head in to see if...
Sure, make a stealth check.
So that is going to be a 22.
22. Just for reference, Matt, because I do need to keep in mind where you are. You're there at the moment.
Okay.
You turn the knob and it opens quietly. Well-maintained door. Actually, looking at the door, fairly new. All of these structures, fairly new. It has the fresh wooden smell. This has been assembled probably over... Jesus.
Oh no!
Can somebody get a picture of that so you can put it on Instagram, please? Of this amazing, the fashion model that Matt has become. Wizards of the Coast, if you're looking for a new model to replace, we have found it. However, as you open the door, and everything here does seem new. It smells of new wood. You saw that this dwarvish kind of, not dwarvish, gnomish statue, which was rising up here, still unfinished. But you open the door, and it's this incredibly clean-smelling wood that leads down a 15 to maybe like actually 30 feet long tunnel, and it seems to go into a room. You can see this little pointed hat, white, with a little face, and this guy, little gnome, seems to be standing there. His hands are moving, and he seems to be sort of talking to himself in this very, very small, dark room, maybe 10 feet across. About 30 feet, yeah, about 30 feet down. There's a 10-foot across room, so the whole length you can see is about 40 feet.
Okay, where's the gnome again? It's
So this goes, the tunnel goes to about here,
Okay.
and there is like a wooden kind of box, or maybe about that big, and he's standing right there. In fact, put one aside for him. I think I didn't, like a nerd. I definitely
Like
have
a
This is
nerd.
not a gnome, this is a goblin, but he will be a nerd. He will be a little nerdy gnome right now. His back is to you.
okay.
And he seems to be kind of going like this, and seems to be whispering, although over the din of the crowd, who you are now beneath, can't really make out the words.
Alright. So just him, from what I can see.
Yeah, it's a very small room.
All right, I end up turning to you, trickster.
No good.
Kill it. No. Better idea.
I'm going to creak open the door just a little bit.
Careful, you must be.
Kind of lean in a little bit.
Snake.
I'm going to cast Mage Hand, and
Okay.
I'm going to have the Mage Hand get like a big, nice, goopy handful of the fungus that is still on me, I assume?
Okay, so you kind of scrape it off of your armor, and now you're looking down at it, and it is like spread ever so slightly, and it's this lichen kind of black instead of green with these white almost veins that as you scrape them away, little bits of greenish kind of pus emerge from. But you scrape it on and goop it into like about a marble-sized ball.
Okay. And I put it into the Mage Hand.
Okay, little
And-
talons grasp it.
I am going to have it go over to the gnome.
15-foot range on mage hand, right?
And, 60 foot.
60 foot? Okay. So this long
Piece of shit
purplish
gnome
tendril
over there.
stretches out with this ethereal kobold hand holding this little goopy marble that every now and then is like a little drip on the floor.
And because I have, or because I'm an arcane trickster, I am allowed to put stuff into people's pockets.
Oh.
So I am going to place this into his pocket.
Careful, you must
Okay.
be.
Sleight of hand check.
Yes, at advantage, as this is something that for you as a kobold, this is like what you live for. You hate gnomes and you love doing like little things to really irritate them.
Careful, you must be.
Okay.
27.
27.
Nice.
Okay.
Extra careful.
Also, hey, Shenanigans, welcome to the stream. So, this little creepy claw kind of drifts over, and as he kind of talks, you see it kind of go down and up under his robes. And you can see a bulge in the robes where it kind of maneuvers around and kind of gently places something. You can see there's a moment where he kind of smacks, like as if a fly has touched him, and the talons have already withdrawn.
Now, Are there any other entrances or exits that I can see?
Make an... No, you know what? As part of your perception check before, you don't see any exits. This seems to be no... You can't really see the walls here, so maybe there are tunnels or something, but you can't see anything.
Okay.
While all this is happening, what are the two of you doing? You, as a human-ish, clad in commoner clothing, kind of maneuvering out. There are other people that do sort of turn to look at you weirdly, but not weirdly enough to cause any special suspicion. One of them kind of just waves to you.
I'm looking around. I think I would know, like, they go to get drinks. Where's a drink?
Turning around, you do see that there's this smell of like frying seafood almost over here. People do seem to be leaving there with tankards, full tankards. Kind of cheap looking tin.
I'm
tankard.
also looking around, see, like, there any orcs around here I could talk to? Any
Make
goblins?
Make a perception check.
As I'm, like, pretending I'm gonna go grab a drink. That's a perception
Yeah.
23.
Okay.
Skidoo.
You don't see any orcs. You do not see any goblins. The closest thing to either of those races that you see, there is a single and you kind of maneuver around. You do see as you walk over and try to find people looking into the crowd. There is this big wooden crate right here, and it appears to have these little mechanisms that all line up to a single wire that go up and then out of sight in this direction. You do see way over in the corner over there is a half orc up in the stands. He may or may not be asleep.
Okay, I think I'm gonna, like, see this and be like, oh, okay, this is where the crowd's at. I'm gonna go up to the, like, here area. People aren't gathered around here.
No, but as you walk like through this door, an arm reaches out and kind of grabs you, and you see this half elf, gray hair, although he does look quite young, that's drawn back into a ponytail. He's wearing kind of regular leather armor. You see a scimitar at his side.
Hello, friend.
Please, this is where the show is. If you would like, go up to the side. Go up to the other side and sit. Please.
Thank you.
And as you walk away, there is a moment where you hear, excuse me. Where are you from? Quentin Tarantino. Dun, 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 dun.
Out in the woods.
Make a persuasion check at disadvantage.
Oh no!
Ooh. Ooh, that's a 4 minus 3.
You look at him and your fingers again all kind of like this. You go out in the woods. He turns and looks at you.
It's a finger guns.
Finger gang?
Finger gang.
Finger gang.
Kind of approaches and starts to kind of look you all over. And as he does, you can see his ears do ever so slightly draw into kind of points. He does seem to be at least half elf.
I hurry away. Towards into the stands.
As you kind of scurry away, you hear him say, "I'm just not from around," and you fill the rest. He seems to have been kind of trying to figure. He's not from around here. His accent is unfamiliar to you.
Alright.
Do you speak Elvish?
Nope.
Okay, unfamiliar to you.
I don't know what he's saying.
However,
I
you kind of go up and you push past people in this little alleyway. It is muddy and there's trash kind of piled to either side, but you make your way up the stairs and you emerge out into these risers full of probably about 40 people. Not full by any means. It's pretty sparsely populated, but about 40 people. There's this, now that you're closer, you can see this kind of passed out drunk half orc up on the top. Long kind of black hair. Does have a bow and some, like a quiver on his back. You can see, a variety of humans. There are a couple of dwarves. Make a perception check.
14.
14.
Passive perception, 17.
Okay, with the 17, you can see a little bit down into there, in that cage, right there, in the corner, you see a very familiar figure. Kobold. Hunched over. Although, kind of circled around him is a massive dog, like a mastiff. Your former companion, Krajik, is dressed in these kind of like a miniature knight's outfit. And you can see the mastiff itself has barding as if it is a horse. But they are kind of bundled together in that cage. It seems that there are other cages, although you cannot see into them.
Oh no.
And you hear again from that room a kind of a bear.
Kobe, no.
Kobe doesn't seem too upset. Tina, you're getting good feedback about your kobold voice, by the way.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm gonna go up to the drunk half orc, the sleeping half orc, and in orcish.
He's up on this bench right here.
Sorry.
What's this?
He kind of half opens an eye and just kind of swats your hand away. Kind of pulls his cloak over.
I'm gonna look around for like someone else who looks like I could just be like,
Sitting
what's
next
this
to him
happening right
is a
here?
halfling who looks a little pale. Is kind of sitting there, like trying to focus on what's happening. He's holding his hand. You see like this cloth around his hand, and it's like slightly red, as if like you cut his hand or something like that. But it's bundled up, and he's holding it.
I'm gonna go up to him.
Okay, looks up at you.
I'm gonna like tap him pretty aggressively on the shoulder.
He's already looking at you, so he goes,
What's this?
"Moderate, this guy."
I'm pointing down to like where I see Kobe, and then
Leans past you. Oh, you're at Jambles.
Jambles.
Yeah. Why did you come here to see the fights?
Yes. Fight.
So,
Who fight?
okay. So you don't know who's that makes more sense. Kind of sits up straight, and you see he kind of pulls his cloth aside. You see he's missing a finger. It looks as if it's been bit off, like at the stub. He kind of covers it up again.
You fight?
Oh no! And he turns to the half orc. This fucker bit it off. He's a little drunk. Let him sleep it off. The card tonight. There's the great Kobold Knight. I guess is fighting some kind of I think it's a displacer beast is what they call it. But Jamble has a great card. I think there's going to be the champion is fighting tonight, and there's going to be maybe a couple other minor things. He always throws in a surprise. Looks again.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
I'm gonna like
down.
hustle back to try and meet up with the rest of the group
As you
to
walk away
relay this
from-
information
Sure. Ooh.
and try to rescue our friend.
All right. So as you depart Aluktai and his halfling companion, you wander around towards this corner. We come back to you guys. So you guys still kind of see this gnome. You can see now, like ever so slightly, this bit of dampness kind of emerging from where you placed that ball of fungus.
Once the mage hand kind of retreats, I want to like sneak forward and go down the hall.
Okay. How far down are you going?
As far as there is something to look at. Like I'm looking to see if there's a way forward
Okay.
or if there's anything
So
down there.
you are creeping like right to the edge, right behind him, so you can see the other side of that wall.
Sure.
Make a stealth. What was your stealth roll before? Sorry.
Oh, I don't.
Make a stealth check.
It was right under mine, so
Pretty sneaky.
no, right over mine. It was
Six?
26. 'cause I
26?
got a
Wait a minute.
25.
Without problem, you creep up. Every time you kind of wait and you hear like above you this kind of dum dum dum, somebody stomping, you kind of take that moment to scuttle forward a little bit. You get right up and you look. There are no. Make an investigation check. There are no doors or exits or anything like that.
16.
16? You look around and you don't notice anything. This is fairly new wood. Everything is newly constructed. But you are now like within reach of this gnome, and you can now hear him. And you hear him just kind of saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to that's not right. That's not right. Come on, Jambles, you can do this. Ladies and gentlemen, Now, and he kind of seems to be rehearsing his speech.
Strongly resisting the urge to just knife him in the back.
Okay.
Not doing it.
Okay.
Are there passageways on either side of me, or is it just the
It's
way
just this one room.
forward? I'm gonna backtrack then.
You carefully creep back to the entrance, where you meet Bones.
How's Fungus doing?
Fungus gods, funguses. No way forward. Only into room.
What does it stand on?
This. Do not lots of loud beings.
I'd say at this point
Loud.
you do
Loud.
in your human form. You guys would hear well ahead of him arriving.
He's
this
sticky.
As his awkward gait kind of shuffles over.
I'm going to
I'm
start to
kinda
close
hustling.
the door quickly but carefully,
Okay.
as to not make noise.
Okay. And you kind of carefully, you shut it real fast and at the end slow, and just kind of turn the knob and let it loose so it doesn't click.
And then I rush over to meet him so he doesn't, hear us.
Kind of intercept him right
Yeah,
through.
kind of intercept him, right there. It's like,
What you see?
What is?
He is in there. In there. Fight. He fights.
He does what?
He fight.
You speak of Kodak, yeah?
Gribble. Yes.
This is a fight.
He fight.
Oh, the fight.
Great.
And he forgets what the word was that.
Make an intelligence, flat intelligence check.
I think it's 6.
Ooh. Yeah, it was loud in there, and you were kind of distracted by shiny things.
He fight. Some big thing.
I'm going to look up to the roof. Does the roof look like it has any windows or entrances that I can
There is
get
no
in?
roof, so it is just a straight 15-foot tall wall.
Oh, okay, so it's just a wall.
And this is all
Must-
open to the air except for the cages
Must
and these two entry kind of houses.
Where is held? Where is he?
Well.
I'm like, yes, if I came in through that way and went in there, then he's probably somewhere around here, based on where I was.
He kind of
Listening,
holds his arm out and goes,
listening, can I tell that there's a lot of noise coming from here?
yes. I
from-
mean, you hear the crowd kind of now beginning to rise a little bit and grow impatient, perhaps.
Okay. I am going to start scuttling down this way
Okay.
to over here until I kind of notice that the noise from the crowd directly is lessening.
Sure. Yeah. You about there, you can hear that it is off to your right, but it doesn't appear to continue to your left.
Okay. I'm going to continue on to my left, and I'm going to have my companions follow me as well.
Do you follow?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Behind
If
you
you
is this.
would like
well,
to.
it is worth noting. It's very hard to stealth as you behind you. Have you staying as?
Oh yeah, I've got it
Behind
for
you,
the
there's
next
this kind
4
of
hours. I'm
thump,
gonna make the
thump,
good use of
human,
it.
awkwardly moving behind you, and every now and then you hear kind of coming out of it.
Maybe you should go back inside and be lookout. And give us help if we need.
I look out for Kodak.
Yes.
Keep watch. If Kodak come out for fight,
I go fight.
you help.
I fight.
See. Yeah.
Full
Mushrooms.
Spanish.
Yeah. You
Lots
do
of mushrooms.
thing.
We're done.
More
About
back.
2 hours.
Go. Go help.
This awkward, human
Go past
dog
the guys
creature
again.
just wandering through. Stops on his heels, almost falls over, turns around, and just kind of disappears around. You wander past again, back into the crowd. You going back up to the stands, or where are you going?
There's nowhere else in here other than
This is all
the
sand
blocked off
and
where I got stopped before, right?
You got
So
stopped
I'm
right
gonna-
there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna I think I'm gonna like go back up and
Okay.
just go like right to here
And
and
you
see
hang
if
out
I can.
over the railing, and right now you're standing next to this woman who's like a little bit older, maybe like in her 60s, gray hair into like a double braid that goes down, and she's just kind of hanging out, like waiting. She turns and looks at you and just goes, "Ah, you're here for the fights, huh?" All right, and she kind of gets off the railing and walks away. And you see her like kind of post up down here.
Oh, perfect. Because then I'm gonna turn
Huh?
and I'm gonna try to like discreetly be like
Kozak!
Just really shout over
in
the crowd.
draconic.
In draconic, okay. Make a sleight of hand check.
Sleight of mouth check.
Yes.
I'm gonna sleight
Close
of
enough.
mouth.
What we got?
I'm gonna
Oh boy.
Fungus does it.
16.
16. Okay. You kind of wait, and you know every now and then you will hear somebody just shout out or something, and when you hear that, you kind of go,
Kozak!
and you whisper in. 16, you said?
Yes.
You see like one of the mastiff's ears kind of, but no other response. While you guys are doing, or while you're doing that, you guys creep over.
Okay. So we're about here.
Yep.
I'm going to use my mage hand, and I'm going to take out a grappling hook.
Okay.
I'm going to have the mage hand go up to the top of the wall and hook in the grappling hook.
Okay, sure, no problem. The hand with its little talon kind of grips the hook and then slowly drifts up with this tendril reaching back to your chest. And you hear this kind of, or you wouldn't hear it over the sound of the crowd, but you see it kind of snug. And the hand kind of just drifts down the cord of the hook itself and then draws back to you.
Okay. I'm going to keep the hand going, but I am going to have it close to me.
Like wrap it around your waist?
Yeah.
Okay, you have kind of like a belt with a little hand, this
Yeah.
little talon just drifting.
Little talon. All right. I'm going
Your
to.
arrow is so weak.
Oh, thanks,
Just-
Campfire Quest. Glad to see you.
I start climbing up, and I'm just going to get right over to the top so I can see in and what I see.
With the grappling hook, you don't actually have to roll for it. No problem. You go hand over hand. You've done this before. You get over the top. One little kobold hand. One little kobold hand. You peer out. Make a perception check.
I see.
I see lots.
So I see that is going to be 16 for what I see.
Everything.
You look across and you do see there's about in total within this arena. Your counting isn't great. We've established this. Somewhere between 10 and 120 people. You make an intelligence check.
Even for Kobold, like
Yeah, well, I mean, my intelligence is actually not terrible.
No,
I
but-
have
10 versus 120.
Well,
Yeah, I
hang on
have
one
14
sec. Let's see if we can narrow it down.
So that is,
Thank you, everybody who just joined.
So that's gonna be an 8 plus 2, so that's 10.
Yeah, between 30 and 100 people.
Okay.
You hard to tell.
That's-
They're shifting around.
better.
There's a lot of movement, and there's a lot of shining. There are nobles here, and you can
That's
see many
better.
of them.
Okay. I
Within
can
Port
forgive
Quinn,
you.
there's a lot of rings. There's a lot of jewelry, very
Shiny.
traditional,
I
kind
can
of
forgive you.
European. Say like 16th century European English specifically style of jewelry. So quite loopy and gaudy.
My eyes are just kind of doing that, like.
And that's why it's kind of hard for you to get a feel as to how many people are here. However, you do notice after a little bit this super gangly, awkward-looking human leaning like this with their hands like Naruto'd behind them, like trying to whisper loudly into
We're
the
not Area
cages.
51. Get.
Yeah, it's over. The raid's over.
Oh.
So you do see your companion over there. You see this kind of wooden box, which you imagine would have been this sort of where you had been previously. You also kind of hear now this kind of dun 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 dun, and you hear the excitement begin to pick up a little bit.
Do I see what he's trying to lean over and like look or talk to?
Who he's looking to talk to?
Yeah.
At the angle, you cannot see, unfortunately.
I'm starting to get nervous, so I'm like instinctively
And see
just
why.
like rubbing myself with
As soon as
mold.
the second beats hits,
Like,
you see just this kind of like this guy start rubbing himself all over.
I feel
And you can
so
see there are people, like,
exposed right
looking
now.
at
I gotta like,
Okay.
I gotta cover up. I gotta cover up.
I'm gonna whisper down
Encased in
to.
mold.
to my
Paper
Gloomstalker.
fascinator.
I'm gonna whisper down to my Gloomstalker friend.
Come on.
Is this worth it?
He says something. Talking to someone.
I'm gonna try to shout a little louder, but
Okay.
still
Go ahead and
Just
make a sleight of hand check.
a little more like anxious.
Fascinator, it's a lot of mold. A tremendous
No,
amount.
I think he said though.
Oh,
You have to go
that's
over there.
It's like,
19.
19? Okay. The Mastiff this time you see kind of look up and look back down at Krajik and just kind of nudge him. And this little nudge, you see Krajik kind of dump over on his back. And then you see Krajik just kind of get up and like stand up kind of angrily, but then just kind of pat the dog. And the dog gives him a big lick, which actually lifts him off of his feet for a second. You hear a clang as he lands in his armor. Kind of looks up. And you see Krajik, and you see he pulls the little visor up, and just kind of looks at you, and you hear from down below, just barely, Draco!
I'm gonna say in Draconic.
Black Teeth here to save you.
See him look around, and you just hear him go,
There is Gnome. Gnome take us. Gnome. You get him in box. In back. Gnome in back.
in box.
In box.
And you see him kind of gesture, and as you follow his little tiny gauntleted hand, you can see there is this wooden box right here.
In
Oh, I
box.
should have stabbed him, dang it.
Gnome in box.
At this moment, you hear, dun, 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 dun. And again, you hear like the excitement begin to pick up. It seems like there is sort of a countdown to this event. You would guess you have about 4 minutes till it starts.
We kill Gnome. Leave.
I'm climbing up the rope.
Okay, you climb up, and you see before you now all these people. You see furiously rubbing himself the creepy human Shaco.
I'm gonna be like
Be back soon.
and run off
And all of a sudden, you see
Like,
him go. and
to
just start
kind of make
darting
my
away
way back to where
really fast.
they were.
Okay, as this happens, you do make a dexterity saving throw. You do watch as this awkwardly lumbering human, you see this one younger guy, maybe in his 20s, so kind of look and gesture to his friends and stick his foot out.
Oh no!
20.
20.
I tripped him.
No, you don't actually. You watch as this awkward gate, just mid-stride, just steps over the foot, like completely accidentally, but the awkward, unnatural way that he's moving prevents him from tripping. And you just kind of go down the riser, you make your way out into the crowd.
So
You hear now, dun, dun, dun.
climbing up behind my friend Bones. Do I see Krajik or no?
You do not. From your angle, you're unable to see him. He's in this cage right here.
Do I see kind of a path between the people that are up there?
Where? On which side? This side?
Like over toward it?
So this actually does have a roof. You cannot see into this. You see that there are these raised wooden gates with these metal gates that have been raised into the elements of the roof. You can tell that there are two doors here and that they probably connect.
Sure. Is this sealed off?
Yes. That is all wall.
So we could end up getting onto the roof, but we can't see through the roof.
Correct.
Okay.
It's wooden. I mean, from this distance, you could look for like cracks or things like that, but from this distance, it seems like a flat roof. It's wood
So
boards.
I'm going up to the roof.
Okay, you climb onto the roof.
Going over to the other side.
I'm gonna do a stealth to cross the roof as well.
At
Do
this
I
point,
see-
you get right to this doorway that you were at before, and this you can tell does lead to this box.
I'm gonna go that way. Yeah.
Okay, so you up to the door.
Can I go in to the door? Try to open.
You open the door and you see this gnome, kind of now with his hat off. You see this like long white hair, though he's bald on the top. And you can see this kind of. Okay. What is that saving throw?
That.
Oh boy.
Does he have to be able to hear you? Is the other question.
You attempt to charm the humanoid you can see within range.
You can see him. He's within range. Okay. Go ahead. And the save throw is 17.
Wisdom saving throw. Yeah.
Okay. You see for a moment as he holds the hat and he's brushing it off, his hand kind of miss the hat entirely, and he kind of wobbles a little bit. You feel as if the spell has worked.
I say, "Gnome, come here!"
Kind of turns around. His eyes a little glazed. He turns to look at you, but approaches.
Okay.
He gets up right next to you.
Charm person is an hour or
He gets to make saves if you
hurt him.
If you hurt him or suggest that he does something that might be harmful to him, I believe.
I'm gonna say, "You've been very bad."
His eyes kind of narrow, and he goes, "I'm sorry, friend. Do I know you?"
No.
I
You
feel
take
familiar."
my friend, you go.
Oh, well. There's a second where he kind of shakes his head, and he looks at you and goes, "Well, hold on just a second there, buddy. I didn't see you come in here. What's a kobold doing in a place like this?" Kind of takes the hat and pops it on. his
He
head.
recognizes.
And you are still in your kind of weird humanoid form.
I'm in danger.
But he does now look up at you and he will say, "Oh, well, bless my tiny little gnome heart." And he comes up to you
Curse you.
and he reaches right into your abdomen and pats you on the head. "What are you doing here, buddy?
Come
You
to
look
get
kinda like-
friend.
Well,
Toxin.
why don't you drop that illusion and just kind of come on out now? Come on, let's talk."
No.
Oh, well, that's really unfortunate. I will say, we shouldn't lose our heads. I know how you kobolds are around us. But I do have a show to run, and so I can't have you.
No
getting in the
show.
way. And at this moment, you do hear outside. Dun.
I'm gonna say,
You fight.
He turns and says, "Oh, it really doesn't work that way. But I will say, you do look a lot like
Give
another
friend
kobold.
back.
I was
You
about to
fight.
say, you look a lot like a kobold we have. And I imagine you want it back, is what it sounds like you're saying. Now, I will say, my name is Jamble, by the way. Good to meet you. And the thing about Jamble is, he reaches out his hand and kind of shakes yours. The thing about Jamble...
I was doing that to get mold on him.
Okay.
Just
He doesn't seem to notice.
Yeah.
But there is mold on his hand.
getting a ton of mold.
Says,
He's getting so much mold.
now, the thing about Jamble is, Jamble likes to gamble. And I was thinking, maybe we make a little deal.
Are we gonna let him get a
He
deal?
begins to kind of walk backwards and kind of waves you over. And he waves you over in the way where he's kind of like, come on.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna follow him because I know he's charmed right now.
Dun, 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 dun.
I know he's charmed, so I'm like, okay, I can always tell him to like not do anything stupid to me.
Sure.
Alright. I'm not a very smart kobold.
You walk out in your awkward human form, and you emerge into this room. It's loud now. And at this moment, you do hear outside this German accent, actually the gentleman that you talked to before. "Ladies and gentles of every age, your attention please to the space before you." And as he does, you see this gnome kind of lean in, and he says, "The thing about charm person is it only works for a certain amount of time. And I think your time has run out, friend. But let's have a game." And outside, you hear him, this German accent, say, "I give you the proprietor, Jamble Widget Watch." And you hear ka-chunk, 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 as these levers seem to release and the wood falls away. Boom, 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 into the sound.
He knows.
He knows.
He knows.
You suddenly kind of are surrounded. You are within this arena. The two of you up on the roof see all this kind of doom, doom, doom. You hear the announcement. You see all of a sudden this awkward humanoid person that you know as your friend Chaco, and this gnome standing to these cheers
I'm
and
like,
shouts.
I'm rubbing hard.
Rubbing hard. Okay. You hear, I mean, there's laughs now, kind of all around you as this kobold, or as this weird awkward woman is here. And you kind of hear next to you Gamble goes,
Why would I talk
let's
about
get
the
rid of
thing?
this right now. And he taps you, and
my
he's going
words,
to
my
cast
No.
True Form. Can you make a Constitution saving
Taco
throw, please?
Nestle
Oh, jeez, I
Yeah.
I
can.
have my shiny armor.
I just on there anyway. You dumb.
14.
Okay.
Oh.
You suddenly, in front of you, you watch as this awkward human shape, like, back into a kobold.
Oh,
Little
no.
tiny Choco. You also watch as that fungus that had given you that extra health
Oh, no.
crumbles and dies into this ash in front of you.
Oh, no.
Um,
I'm like
Those are the
on
only-
the ground trying to scoop it back up onto me.
and you see just kind of rubbing this ash, which now swipes across in gray streaks. People begin laughing, and you can hear shouts where you hear, did some little boy lose his pet? And you hear somebody else say, I hope those that feed the main event. And people just kind of jeering at you as this happens. Are you two doing anything?
I am going to over here. I'm trying to pry open like a part in the roof to see if I can look in.
As you sneak inside of this actual place, you do see there is a human, or a half-elf female, actually very similar to the half-elf who's out there right now. Oh, you know what? I have minis for that. Give me 1 second. I think those are them, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You see this half-elf gentleman who's now withdrawing over here, kind of backing out. And you see this half-elf woman who looks very familiar to him, kind of addressing, in this cage, this panther-like creature, these little snapping sort of tentacles coming off of it. It is currently kind of calm. The tentacles every now and then just kind of, but it's kind of soothing them, and you hear her just kind of say, the kobold when it is time. And just kind of but you want to try to pry this thing open?
Yes, I'm trying to
I'm
pry
going
this
to
thing
help.
open so I can see below me.
I'm going to help.
Okay. Oh, so you're still on the roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't
Cool,
snuck
cool,
in yet.
So, make a strength check. And you have,
Oh no.
you have a crowbar?
Huh?
You have a crowbar?
I do.
Okay, so make that at advantage.
Yay!
Because I'm helping.
A kobold crowbar.
Good for the advantage, but that's not gonna be anything good.
Oh,
That's
you
a
hate to see
seven.
that. Oh, you hate to see that.
Seven.
With a 7. You kind of try to jam the crowbar, and you can't even really get it between the boards. Very new construction. And as out here, not so much inside the cave, it has rained fairly recently. There was a storm maybe 2 days prior that actually had shipwrecked the finger gun.
Not strong, sneaky.
Can't quite get it in, as they say.
Uh,
Meanwhile, Jambo in the crowd says, now, ladies and gentlefolk, let's not act with hostility to our newfound little champion here. All right, after all, let me tell you, I imagine their tale will bring a tear to y'all's hearts. And you hear the crowd kind of begin to simmer down slightly. He spins to address the other side. This kobold came to the proprietor of this fine establishment, one dashingly handsome gnome named Jamble. Looks just a mite like me, I reckon. Anywho, they tell me, or he tells me, that one of my acts is a family member or something. Can you believe that? And there's this kind of shout of, they eat the young! And you hear just this woman just right, beat the shit out of it! He holds up his hands and says, I know, I'm as surprised as y'all. However, their tale just must touch something in poor old Jamble's heart, because I felt something, I felt a growth. And besides, they call me Jamble the Gamble for a reason, and I thought to myself, I have 80 fine individuals in this arena. Maybe they like to see a game. Y'all like games? And there's this like a shout of cheers. And at this moment, you guys, the two of you sort of notice, definitely not you, but the two of you sort of notice, as he talks, he is like a master of manipulation. He has this crowd like very much in his hand. There is a danger lurking within his intellect. Well, howdy fucking do. It looks like we got ourselves an audience. But, and quiet down now, folks. And as he holds his hands, it just goes like silent. He leans into in his stage volume, he shouts out, "Do we have a deal?" And he turns down to you and he says, "If you want to make your fucking friend walk free, make a deal with me right now, or else you don't walk out of fucking all. So how do we have it? And he kind of shouts, and now the crowd kind of roars back to life a little bit. What do you say?
How tall is the wall down to the floor?
Probably about 50, from the roof 10 feet, from the wall 15.
Yeah, I think I gotta go with this.
So what do you say?
Trixie gnome deal.
So as you say deal, you kind of shout it out.
Give fun.
Yes.
You shout out deal, and there is this like just shout of just cheers, and you see people slamming tankards together, like some of them are bending. You see this drunk half-orc up in the stage kind of look up, and you see him look around groggily and go back to sleep. It is a luck die. It is incredibly drunken stupor. You
Nice.
you see him kind of just sort of turn around and just look at you,
No, he's.
and he leans in and just says, "You're probably gonna fucking die." He turns around, bring out the champion, and as he kind of begins to walk away, you probably want to stand back up. You see a gentleman approach. This guy, I don't have a good mini for him. This is probably the closest I have. Is when you step out of this sort of building, there's nobody who would really see him actually, so he comes out right here. About 6'8" is this gentleman. Pale skin, true blonde hair that's drawn back into a ponytail. He's bulging and muscular. I mean, we're talking, have you guys seen, Full Metal Alchemist?
Yep.
Is he Armstrong?
He's very similar, fairly similar in stature to Armstrong.
Oh my god, you are dead!
Beefy fucking guy.
Bye.
Wearing,
Passed down through the Armstrong line for generations.
wearing the finest, most elegant green plush, or green crush velvet, sort of noble finery with these ruffly lace sort of sleeves. You see ruffles come out, although the skin does bulge through the actual buttons. He has a
Missed you
rapier at his
already.
side with gold filigree into the handles. There's this incredibly ornate, heavy crossbow on his back, and he approaches you. And the crowd as he goes in, the crowd just goes nuts.
Is he about to attack me?
He's not. He seems to be calmly approaching you.
Okay. I'm getting ready for some cowering.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But he does approach you fairly calmly, and as he does, you can hear just chants of just Zet Stite, Zet Stite, Zet Stite, and it just begins to build in the crowd. And as he approaches,
This is bad.
he gets right up next to you, and he crouches down on one knee and still leans down to get to your height. And he just
kind of like slowly inching back a bit as he gets like down on his knee.
little creature. It is very unfortunate that we meet under these circumstances. I'm very sorry. But I will have to kill you.
No. Mushroom protects.
His eyes narrow, and you see on it still as he kind of scoots back like an inch. But he holds out a hand and he says, "Now listen. I must serve every day as a lesser noble in the House of Eves. I must sit by while my intellectual inferiors make stupid decisions about agriculture, things that they know nothing about. I don't imagine this makes any sense to you. I don't actually really understand. If you know what I'm saying, but is that a yes or a no?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Anyways, this is how I get my anger out. And he cracks his huge knuckles, and over the crowd you hear them crack.
Oh shit! I'm gonna go ahead
And he begins unbuttoning kind of like the fine thing, and he stands up. And as he walks away, he says, "Best of luck to you. I'll give you no mercy, but I expect none in return." And he pulls this crushed green velvet suit off and throws it. You see this bulging muscles, scars kind of carved all over him. He begins to undo his belt as he walks back over to the other side.
I'm conjuring an animal.
Okay.
As he's walking away,
Sure.
I'm gonna conjure Myconid Sovereign.
A Myconid Sovereign.
Holy crap!
I have a Myconid Sovereign.
What?
I did not. I was unaware he could summon a sovereign. What?
So how do you cast this spell? How does this happen?
I'm just gonna like
Full Metal reference all day.
all of my
Every
mold,
day.
all of
All
my
day,
heart,
every day.
all of my
Full Metal
fungus
is like my
is
favorite
going
anime
into this,
ever.
and I
I
think
was
like
listening to an
I'm gonna
anime
just
playlist
like
that I made 'cause I'm
let
a
some of
weeb.
it sort of
And
ooze
it's
off
like
of me,
half
and then
Full Metal
form
Alchemist right now,
this.
'cause,
You
yes.
take your
It's
life
Mushroom
and
actually Final
We'll wait
Fantasy
for Tina.
15 right now.
So I am
No,
doing.
no, sorry. I was waiting for you to finish so that I could keep going.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So, as you step down, the elements of mold that still remain, a lot of it has come off, but the elements that still remain begin to ooze down your leg. The crowd does get a little quieter as this stuff kind of mucks out, and very much like the symbiote from Venom, kind of onto the ground and begins to rise up, and in front of you
We haven't discovered
there is this large mushroom-like creature. Its flesh, this twisted, spongy material, tan and kind of sunken in.
So good.
The crowd goes silent for like just a second, and then laughter everywhere. You just hear people like chuckling, and you hear from deep in the crowd, "It's a mushroom!" And you hear somebody else, "No, it's a tree!" And people begin to just laugh. You hear glass shatter as a bottle onto the ground next to it.
Kill man! And then I'm gonna run this way to go and try
as
to
you
unlock
yell that,
that.
and it lumbers forward. I need you to roll. I need everybody to roll for initiative, as we are now getting into a combat.
Oh boy.
Alrighty, so you go ahead and-
28.
19.
20.
And should I roll for the
he goes on your
Goober guy?
initiative.
Oh, okay.
He is going.
Well, he gets a 15 plus whatever he has.
Always have good dexterity, kids.
All right, anybody natural 20.
Nope.
Dirty
Natural
20.
20s, dirty 20. Great, 25 to 20, dirty 20.
28.
28 is going to be. Remind me of your name again.
Etro.
Etro. And that was a 21.
20.
20. That is going to be 24. Remind me of your name.
Bones. With a Z.
Bones with a Z.
With the Z.
19.
Okay, still going last with a 19.
Oh no.
Jesus Christ.
That is going to be our friend Chaco and the Shroom.
That's sure.
So, Etro, you are up first. Bones, you are up second. The champ is going third, and then Chaco and the Shroom are going fourth. Etro, what do you want to do?
Is this area open?
Is this
Or is it closed off?
closed off? So but you're on the roof of this space
Correct.
planet. Yes.
So I guess I should have just done.
How closed off is it?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
How closed off is this
There
area?
is like a 5-foot wide door that is about 11 feet up, or sorry, 10 feet up. But there is like a portcullis that has been raised up. You'd imagine could be triggered to drop.
I want to sneak my way through
Okay,
towards this cage.
sure. Is that too much trouble? As there are things happening, you do sneak in and kind of go down.
I was just gonna say, could I end up saying something before she moves
Yeah.
for free?
Yeah.
I have plan to get in without sneaking.
Active project, you're the plan.
She says as she just drops and disappears, and you walk into and up to the cage. You see Krojek now is kind of shaking this. She is facing this direction now, watching this. You see Krojek now, his little gauntlet in hands. He's wearing a full suit of plate mail. It's unclear as to whether it's costume quality or not, but holding onto the bars, this mastiff kind of wagging its tail. It's having a great time. Ears up, like tongue out, like looking super excited. But
I look for you, Project. What this?
Get out!
Go shoot.
what are you doing?
Take off. Just take off.
You want him to doff his full plate mail armor. Okay, it begins the 10-minute process of unsnapping everything.
Oh no.
That is your turn?
Yeah.
Okay. That brings us to Bones.
Alrighty, I am going to and drop.
Okay, you drop 15 feet.
Uh,
Or 10 feet, sorry, just
yeah.
10 feet, so you're fine. You drop into the grass.
How much damage?
None. You're fine.
I'm good. Oh, awesome. Okay, then I'm casting Rope Trick.
Okay.
Right up against the wall.
Sure.
So it's gonna clip through the wall.
You take a piece of the rope and it just kind of goes right up to the edge and then just right into the. You're trying to get it inside.
So I'm trying to cast rope trick on this square.
Sure.
So it ends up rising up at determined feet, and I'm gonna have it rise up 5 feet.
Okay.
And then the opening ends up opening over the 5-foot space, and a rope comes down where I am.
Okay.
I'm able to climb up into the space.
Sure.
And look
Okay.
out through, and if the wall is not 5 feet, then I can.
It's not. So you climb up this rope and then through the wall and kind of have to land sideways.
Well, I go into this space,
Okay.
so it's a room, and then I can look through and like poke my head back
And
in.
you can poke your head. You're right in there with Krajek.
Yeah.
Krajak!
Krajek turns behind the Mastiff. Looks. They're both kind of looking at you.
I bring up the rope and put it back down.
Climb up!
Okay.
Get Chaco!
Fantastic. That is your turn.
Chaco!
That is my turn.
Okay. It is this champ's turn. He is now just
Came to get our team back.
Jackal better make
No
his way
man
out.
left behind.
Black
You
team!
watch as he kicks the pants off and is now wearing just basically cloth shorts, white.
Oh my
You see,
god!
all of his weapons are on the side. He's not using them.
Oh.
You see, he cracks his knuckles, and you see his mouth. You can just make out the words "sorry" as he uses his bonus action to rage, and you watch his veins just pulse out on his body. You can see the muscles swell, and you just hear this as he just
He's in front of me. Right? He's somewhere to catch this guy.
Sure. So he comes
On
and
his
full sprint in, is going to attack your mushroom guy. What is the health on that mushroom guy like?
Slash armor class?
It's 13 armor class.
Is that a medium creature?
Yes.
Fantastic.
No. Large.
Oh, that's a large.
Large.
Okay. So
Yeah, it's a sovereign, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The sovereign is like a big, gooey mess of eyeballs and fungus.
I do not have a sovereign. However, I do have a large creature that will kind of fit that profile.
Chaco's human form.
Oh.
Spooked! Okay, we're just gonna put you right in the thing.
Yeah, so he's actually going to run right up into it. And he's going to take his first unarmed strike, which is going to be a 26 to hit.
Yeah, that does it.
It definitely hits. Okay.
Sovereign gonna die.
No, that's only going to be 5 points of damage.
Oh.
Okay.
Strikes again. That is going to be a 14 to hit.
That hits.
That is going to be, again, 5 points of damage. And then the third attack, that is going to be a 26 to hit again.
Yeah, so that's gonna hit.
So there is this kind of poof, and you see elements of spore just onto the side of the sand. The second strike, again, elements of this fungus splatter. The final one, he just reaches around and grabs your mushroom, the large creature, in a bear hug. That is going to do, as he squeezes in, you can see pus beginning to pour out of it. That is going to be 6 points of bludgeoning damage.
6.
And it needs to make a strength saving throw.
Okay, so that was a total of 16
Yeah,
and a strength saving throw.
strength saving throw.
That's an 18.
An 18.
Yeah.
Okay, with an 18, as he tries to kind of grapple you, or as he tries to grapple this large creature, its spore form kind of oozes through its arms and just is free. Not considered grappled, so we cannot throw it at you.
Question.
Yes.
Are there any other Myconids within 240 feet right now?
There are not.
Okay.
There are not.
They would be sensing his pain.
Yes, they
right
would. Yes, they would. But they are not. His pain is felt alone.
Good.
That is Champ's turn. That is
He will
going to
bear
bring
the
us
load.
to Choco in this room.
So I'm running this way so that he can deal with that. Do I choose what I have him do as well, specifically based on?
This is your spell. I am not a druid. I am running an entire campaign and also 3 one-shots this month, so I do not know.
Okay.
Round of
Only-
applause for our DM.
Look at that.
Right?
Cool. So yeah.
I'm only
he's just
running
gonna
one
like-
Usually like about
take
4
one
hours.
shot.
I told him to kill that guy, so he's gonna
And
attack
it's enough.
Right. I'm in about 3 campaigns, running about 2.
with
I'm in 0 campaigns because I never get to play.
Halloween.
Nah, I'm so
Yeah,
You
so
should
he's
have
gonna
done
need to make
It's gonna be fun.
DC
Edgar Allan Poe.
12
You're gonna have to do
Is-
some
Constitution
research.
saving
Yes.
throw.
What saving throw?
Do it.
Constitution save.
I'm fully
Constitution
banking on the start of this
Okay,
being
for a con save, that is going to be a
super,
12.
Like,
12. Ooh, that's a tie.
stereotypical like
Oh.
Okay.
So
group encounters something
that.
Tie goes to you, I believe.
Oh, okay.
archetypical
So then he is going to be
Halloween
poisoned
Spooky
for 1
story.
minute,
spooky
and
story.
the poisoned target
Man
is
at the gas
incapacitated
station.
while it hallucinates.
Go back.
Okay.
Depending on how you guys interact with
Fantastic.
it, is
The
how it
target can
goes.
repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect
It's gonna be great.
on success.
It is going to use one of its
And honestly,
legendary
the more people,
resistances to pass
The
that.
better,
Dang.
because the higher chances of it
That sounds like no
surviving.
So as you kind of slop across these spores,
Just saying.
you can see his eyes kind of, the pupils dilate for a second before all of a sudden like froth begins to pour out, and he just like so angry at being.
Cool. So while that's all happening,
Yeah.
Chaco is running for his life to try and get to the gate here,
Okay.
so he can like
Sure,
be
you
like,
get to the gate and you see now Krajik kind of turning towards like a little gap in the
Can I
wall. It's
open
like a
the
little
gate?
rope sticking
It's
erect out of it.
am I
Or,
able?
sorry, ceiling.
Yeah, it's like a
We're talking
it's
you're
a
working-
floating kind of window
Yeah.
that you can climb through that the
Oh.
rope's coming down
Can
from.
I-
You're working
That's
with-
no
you're thi-
clipping through
You're
the wall,
thinking
basically.
with portals, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see like the rope just kind of hanging down.
Can I get through this door?
You could not, unfortunately. I mean, you can, but not with your movement from here. That's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You can get right into the door, yeah.
Can I open the door?
The door's
and go-
open.
Oh, I'm
It's,
gonna.
it's a portcullis that's been raised up.
Okay, I'm gonna use my dash action to get up that rope with them
Okay.
and make our quick escape.
The rope is on the other side of the door, though.
Nope,
correct?
I put it on the other side of the wall when I got up there. So I ended up going. So the way it works is the wall's here,
Okay.
and then the rope trip window is no clipping through.
Correct.
It, so,
You're doing it from outside to inside.
Oh, I climbed up into the.
Gotcha.
Into the box.
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So you
I'm
climb
in
up
the
rope.
box, so I'm helping.
Yeah,
everyone.
I'm like just climbing up right behind Krajek as
You
he's
begin to
going up.
climb. That is your turn.
Yep, that's my action bonus
At the
action.
End of your turn. It is going to take the multi-attack action as its legendary ability. And that is going to be a. Why can I not do math? 15 to hit.
Oh, he could have made a fist attack too.
I'm
15
sorry.
to hit. That thing.
I'm sorry.
It hits.
Yeah.
He's doing a multi. He's a legendary creature.
Yeah. He is.
Oh no!
That's a
We're
That's
gonna
a
be out here
15
before
to
that.
hit.
It's fine.
That is going to be 11 points of bludgeoning damage. Second attack is going to be a 23 to hit.
23. That hits.
That is going to be 7 points of bludgeoning damage.
Alright,
And the final
that's-
attack.
He's still looking okay.
Oh, this one's probably not going to hit. 12 to hit.
That does not hit.
Look at that. So the final hit is just this woof, and you see again splatter, woof, and like you see a whole chunk of this mushroom into the sand. The final one, he goes to grab again, and this time the arm slips straight through as it around its form, unable to grab hold. That is his noble act, or his legendary action, not his noble action. That brings us to Petra.
So, your rope is leading him up.
Into
To the
the
ceiling?
extra dimensional space, yes. So we're able to get up into it, and I can have at least 10 medium or small creatures in there, so we're set. And then we're gonna go over the wall and just slip down and get the hell out.
What do you want to do?
I'm going back up to the roof.
Okay, you climb up the rope 10 feet, no problem.
To wait for Kobe.
Okay. You get up on the roof. You look down. You can see
So,
Kobe starting to get ready.
Not
to go.
technically in the roof, in the extra dimensional room. So you're.
I never was in the actual cell,
Oh, okay.
so back up around.
So you scamper up
waiting.
and kind of climb. Make an athletics check. What are we looking at?
24?
24? No problem. You scamper up to the top and you wait. That is your turn?
Yep.
Okay. That brings us to Bones. Oh, no, sorry. It's Krojik's turn. So, the Mastiff cannot climb. And so you hear this kind of low whine, and it from this large creature is kind of like a as Krojik kind of gets up half the rope and he turns, and you just hear him go,
I'm sorry.
and he kind of scampers up to the extra dimensional space and then down the other side. He's going to end up on the outside, correct?
So
he
he's
ends
gonna
up
end up.
right outside on the other side of the wall.
Which one is he?
Oh, sorry, I didn't put him on.
Yeah, he doesn't have a figure.
Next to me.
He is currently unarmed.
So he would
Just
actually
has
be
his
on the
armor
ground
on.
over here. You'd be right
There
over
he
him.
is. That's
I
our
mean, we'd still
boy.
be with on the roof. So.
It doesn't go to the roof. It ends up going on the other side of the wall, so he can climb down to the floor.
As he kind of lands, you can see him look around and you can say,
They took my thing. I can't do anything.
that is his turn. At the end of his turn, legendary action to use a multi-attack.
Good lord.
That is going to be a 9 to hit, which I believe
That
misses.
misses.
So there's just kind of, and he just hits wet sand. Second one is
I'm very
going
glad
to
we decided
be
not to fight this guy.
27 to hit.
That does hit.
That is going to be 11
There's
points
a
of bludgeoning
reason.
damage.
All right.
everything.
That is 15 left.
Might
Final attack. Ooh, that is going to be
It's
a 20 to hit.
That'll do it.
So this time he grabs on.
I'm gonna think
Careful. Very, very careful. Twice.
poor mushroom.
It's a
You take 7
thing.
points of bludgeoning, or it takes 7 points of bludgeoning damage as it squeezes in. It's going to lift it up off of the ground, and you see like crumbling fungus dripping into the sand.
As I'm like climbing the rope, I'm like,
And he straight up just suplexes it over his back. I need you to make a Constitution saving throw, or it to make a Constitution saving throw.
Okay.
That's 16.
Does a 28 hit?
I think that'll do it.
So with the 16, you actually will fail that.
Ooh,
So
that's a toughie.
would be stunned next turn. However,
Hey, at least it's not Choco.
Okay.
You can resummon it.
that's 18 points of bludgeoning damage as the neck of this thing just slams into the ground.
Yeah, it's just gonna melt into the ground
And it just into
dissipate.
just little crumbling bits of mushroom and fungi that scatter across the sand. It is now dead.
Oh, sad.
You can see him just looking around, frothing at the mouth, his blonde ponytail beginning to come out of this
single
little
salty.
troll skull-looking bandana thing. That is the end of its legendary action. That brings us to Bones.
Has Choco gotten into the room yet?
Choco has
I'm like
just gotten into the room, yeah.
at the rope.
At the rope
I'm
about to
the
climb.
bottom of the rope, right below.
Could I end up
Contract.
using my action to help him get up into it?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to do that to get him up into the room.
Okay, you reach down. Make a athletics check.
Oh crap.
At advantage, because I would imagine that Choco is helping you.
Yeah, I'm like.
18!
You reach down, his little kobold arm grabs onto yours, and you haul him up onto the roof, kind of splattering him out.
Alrighty. And then
Your
I'm,
hand
got
is just
mold.
slick with mold.
I'm then going to push him out the other side so he lands over here.
Okay. You just kind of onto the ground.
And I am going to use my bonus action to dash, and I'm going to drop down from the rope trick.
Okay.
And I'm going to take the rope and pull it, closing the door.
Yeah, and as you pull it, it's going to just shoot, and it just shuts, and the rope
Successful
lands
escape!
down onto your feet. You guys are now all out, with the exception of Tina, who's up on the roof.
Yes.
But you guys are now out. You can hear this kind of confused and angry from inside the arena, and you can hear now the crowd like boos and jeering.
Let's haul
Things are
out.
happening. Now that you are on the side, you do see there are like hitching posts right in this area, and you can see that there is. Let me pull up my
Oh,
notes here.
we hitching a ride.
We hitching a
We're
ride,
hitching a ride
my
out of
dude.
here.
There is there's two mastiffs, one large black bulky cane corzo, a Saint Bernard that is laying down on its side, its tail kind of flopping gently, and a Great Dane that's sitting down, kind of looking out into the forest line.
We
for a
riding out on
total
dogs.
of
Oh boy.
5 different dogs.
Are we still in combat?
Currently, yes, you're
We're still in
combat.
initiative order? Okay.
We out.
I got a little thing that'll
We got
help
him.
us with this escape.
We just have you on the roof, so we just need you to come down, and we're leaving. We're riding
Successful
out on dogs.
extraction. We're
You know,
getting
I
out
will
of
say,
here.
you guys made enough distance between you and the nearest combatant that you are, for the moment, out of combat.
Oh,
However,
shit.
you can hear, there are like confused shouts. You can hear now over everything, amplified by some kind of magic, the voice of Jamble saying, "Just remember, Jamble doesn't like to lose. Go get him." And you can hear now just like footsteps and things are like coming down these risers. As far as you know,
what's the name?
the only exits,
Right.
there's a small exit here and exits here. So wherever they are, they're going to take time getting to you, it seems.
So, besides the Mastiffs, what was there?
There is
Saint Bernard, I think you said?
So,
2 Mastiffs, 1 Cane Corso, 1 Saint Bernard, and 1 Great Dane.
okay. Which of those is going to be the fastest dog?
Make a nature check.
That's a 20. Boop, boop, boop.
The Saint Bernard is definitely the slowest. You would imagine probably the Cane Corso is the fastest. Mastiffs, maybe, they're all roughly the same speed.
Can they seat all 4 of us, or are we going to need multiple?
Each one could seat one of you.
Okay. Cool.
Grab a dog.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna start running, and as I'm running, I'm gonna dominate the nearest beast.
The nearest one is this jacked, like all black Cane Corso, like muscular.
Yeah, I'm gonna use.
That's a beefy dog.
It is. Yeah. It's definitely the biggest of all these animals.
I'm gonna be like, "Come on!"
I'm following. I'm rushing.
Okay, you guys rush over to these dogs. You can see, even from here, there are torches and things coming around this direction.
Dominate beast. So I think it needs to make wisdom saving throw.
Okay, that is going to be a 13.
That is a fail.
Okay.
So it is charmed for.
You watch as you're running over and you wave your hand. All of a sudden, the tail starts wagging mightily.
All right, and
Good
then
boy.
as I'm gonna run up and be like, "Good dog." Hop on.
Okay, as you hop on, there's this big lick, and you hear the dog go, and just
Yeah.
this big slobber just drops on the
I
ground.
think for flavor's sake, I've like put some spores in it.
Oh yeah,
I've spored this guy up
oh yeah.
real good.
They're not visible, but there are these like
Yeah,
little
it's like
kind
the
of elements
micro,
that, yeah,
the
for sure.
microbes. Yeah, it's like the yeasts have gone. I
Gross,
sent
alright.
some yeast at
Oh,
So
gross.
you give it a yeast infection essentially.
Oh.
You
No.
him. But it's
settle
like
onto the top of it. As you do it,
what
As
is
a
it?
woman?
Cordyceps, the
Cordyceps,
type of, yeah, the
yeah.
cordyceps mushrooms.
don't
But
you feel the muscles unbound as it
I
stands. This is a
can get where you're
strong
from
creature.
coming from, and a lot of
And
no.
as it, its tongue is out a little bit, its
But
little
you
short
can't.
ears are kind of up,
Because there's
and you
nothing
hear this kind of
equivalent.
joyful woof, as it kind of as the
So
other dogs
sorry.
all kind of start straining on their leashes. They're meant to run.
Yeast
These are
infection
running
doesn't
animals. These are mounts.
all right, we're
UCI
hauling
doesn't
ass.
even-
Okay.
Because it's a
You
whole different thing
just
for
begin
you.
taking off with your cane cord.
It's
you
a
have to hold
whole
on
I don't
to
need
the
to know.
separate.
What are the two of you doing? You watch as Chaco takes off on this
I am
large black dog.
running for my nearest dog.
Nearest
and-
dog is on its side, the Saint Bernard.
All right, I am going to cut the rope that's holding him, hop on his back,
Okay.
and
As you cut the rope, it kind of starts standing up, looking over, confused at you.
I give him a quick pet.
Animal handling check.
Alrighty.
Since you're not dominating your mounts.
Yay! That is
Psychically.
going to be a 18.
Well,
18, yeah. You
sporadically.
gently,
Yes.
you go in and you gently kind
you're
of comb
so
its fur and it
gross!
feels it wagging, gives you a big lick that almost lifts you up onto your toes.
I get right up on his back
You sure
and
do.
prepare to start riding. Before I do, I'm going to grab my snow globe
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to look over in this direction where the lights are kind of coming from.
Sure, around the corner that way, but yeah.
Around the corner that way. Is there anything like trees in a 20-foot area?
Lots of grass,
Lots of
bits
grass.
of kind of like low shrubbery.
Okay. Then I'm going to, in this 20-foot radius here, I'm going to raise the globe and cast web.
Okay,
Ooh.
sure. As you raise the globe and you cast web, there is a sort of extension of the swirling snow that stretches little points out that seem to weave together with this magical light. And suddenly it bursts forth and creates this, I think it's a 10-foot square.
It is, I think 20 foot actually. Hold on, let me check.
Sure. While you're doing that, Tina, what are you doing?
What is
Yep, 20
Project
foot.
doing?
So you see, Krajek at this point is darting forward towards these dogs.
Out here?
He's over with you
He's
guys,
with
so
us.
he's heading with you.
We're scooting this way.
He's the one that is
No, we're
the
scooting that way.
Kobold
We're
monk.
scooting that
Yeah,
way.
not this way.
Yeah, we're hopping on dogs. We're getting the fuck out of here.
In that way then.
Okay, you scoot that way. The nearest
I'm
dog
this
as
way,
you
that
approach
way.
is one of these mastiffs.
I'm gonna ride him.
Okay, make an animal handling check. As you run up to it.
We're getting out of
We're
here.
all
getting the
very
fuck
excited.
outta
There's this
here.
kind of excited, like agitated energy amongst the dogs now.
I'm
Your dog
just
is, like,
waiting
already
for
pulling
like
towards
the
his.
thing that's gone.
20 natural.
20 not natural? Yeah, you run up to it, you just grab it by the side, and you just give it a big kobold kiss, and you hear next to it this kind of satisfied little woof. You know, like it's not like a full woof, but it's a kind of,
It's a
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
buff.
A little buff. So he's very satisfied. You jump up on it, and as soon as before you even land on it, it's off. And you see this, you see Chaco on this massive, muscular black dog leading the way. Falling behind it, like kind of like hanging on, not necessarily seated to it, is Bones like grabbing onto this joyful Saint Bernard that's bounding after you, his long fur flowing in the wind.
I shall name him Scoobus.
About 5 feet behind that
Scoobus.
is Tina on this mastiff that is like rushing up and kind of gaining speed on the Saint Bernard. But you guys take off. You can see behind you there are figures, but the torchlight kind of begins to die away. And you guys, having pulled the very, very sneaky rope trick, managed to kind of escape into the tree line. You guys wind through.
The biscuit is in the basket. Repeat, the biscuit is in the basket.
Close to 9 o'clock at night, when you guys begin to ride, you ride into this valley with a high road that runs on either side of it. There is this high road on the right that you guys remember kind of ends at a cliff. This is getting close to the edges of your territory. And as you ride, you guys are at a combat and far away from this kind of darker scene. And so let me pull up for you guys.
Rope trick. Underestimated spell, ladies and gentlemen.
All things considered, smooth extraction.
Right?
That plan went way better than anything the Finger Gang has done.
Could
have been worse.
Low key.
Could have been worse.
That black teeth pride, right? So you guys begin to run. And as you do, you. Wait, what is this sound that I'm hearing here? This is the general hubbub. I don't need
General hubbub.
I need general
Brought to you
hubbub.
by
What I
Sirenscape.
need
Be
is
sure to like and
horses.
subscribe to Sirenscape.
Oh no, you know what I need? Right, this
But
is
also, be sure to like and
But
subscribe.
also, just because.
So, you guys ride, and as you do, Krajek begins to tell you,
Oh, it was amazing. There was a large cat person and a dwarf and like a demon, but with horns, antlers, like that deer.
and he begins to tell you all about how this group of heroes emerged into the Midnight Assembly's lair and saved him. Although, in his words, it was very much Morwen kidnapping him. And forcibly like taking him somewhere and trying to bribe him with food, though he escaped this stupid cat lady. But as you guys ride on and into your territory, you guys have successfully rescued Krajek.
Yeah!
And so Kobe Quest comes to an end with a very successful one-shot. Congratulations.
Yeah, we
You
did
actually did what you were supposed to do.
We
Adventures
didn't
Now Brought
leave you in a
one-shot
place.
first. Nobody died.
Nobody died.
die! I didn't get left behind!
And so, amazing times all around. So, real quick, while we're at this sort of thing, Puginator, Talon, all of the people who are currently tuned in and who have watched, the Talon demands a refund because nobody died. Thank you so much for tuning in and for following along with
Wait till
Kobe
think
Quest.
Halloween.
Halloween is going to be fantastic. As a little bit of a reminder, next week we are having our regularly scheduled Adventures in Alberon for the first time in almost a month, which is super exciting because we have Allie and Miles returning to us as Morwen and Heinrich. And we will be finally, potentially, arriving in Farshore. We'll also have, for you guys who have been following along, Talon, you especially, I realized as I was writing this, because so a little bit of background on the story for all of you guys. Here, I'll pull it to me real quick. A little bit of background for you guys. Oh yeah, tilt that kind of slowly.
Give that a nice pan zoom.
Oh, I didn't see you over there. As I was writing this one shot this is set 2 days after, oh wait.
Not even.
Yeah.
Hi, I didn't see you. This was set roughly 2 days after our campaign started, which was roughly in Adventures in Alberon time, about 2 months ago. No, sorry, about a month and a half ago. In real life time, like 8 months ago. We started in February, so a long time.
Long ass.
These events were before we became a stream, before this was even an idea. We thought maybe we would do a podcast at some point. But this is kind of exploring the very first fight that scene with the dead bodies by the woods, very first fight that the Finger Gang ever had. That body with the exposed wound, that was Heinrich's first Eldritch Blast.
Oh shoot!
So those worms and
That
maggots
was
were very
nice.
much
I got
part
some
of
nice.
his
Nice.
thing.
Now we have an eternal bond, and he will become part of the symbiote.
Ew.
You-
Gross.
Yeah, so I had to go through this. I realized that none of you guys who have been following the stream, Talon, you included, know about why the Finger Gang is going to Farshore, because that happened before the stream started. There was a prophecy. It was a poem. It's pretty sick. I'm going to dig it up at the beginning of next week. I'm going to read it. I'll do a quick recap of the entire Midnight Assembly arc, which nobody got to see. With
It was
Talk About
good.
Dead, Free Life. It was great.
Gunther went through a sewer. There was a whole to do
Yeah,
about
Gunter
it.
almost died. Shay almost died.
A lot
Yeah,
of
we all
near-death
almost died.
experiences.
It
That's
was-
really what brought us together. Was like
We're
Dying.
living together now. That's the whole thing.
But anyhow,
Yes.
next week we're going to have regularly scheduled Adventures
Honestly,
in Alberon at 8:30
Shay's
p.m.
more detached from you now than she was before.
Eastern Standard Time.
That's fine.
As we
Yeah.
always do, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you
that
next week.
trial. It's really good.
Bye.
Thanks again, Dicey. This was really
Okay,
cool.
bye.
Bye.
My favorite.
Go get the Dicey.